Chapter 31, More Messing Around. A loud groan escaped Kenpake's mouth as he slowly opened his eyes and looked around in confusion while slowly raising his upper body from the ground. Ugh, where am I? Pretty much the same place where your fight with Yuna-sensei ended, but now inside a small house. Hearing someone talking to him, Kenpake looked at the source of the voice and found a woman with long black hair and white eyes with her upper body sprawled on a table, looking at him with a neutral expression. Kenpake briefly scanned her with her eyes before he realized who he was looking at. You were one of the people spectating the fight. I'm honestly impressed you remembered me. The name is Hisoka, by the way. Kenpake simply nodded his head, not really caring about Hisoka, as his eyes continued wandering through the room. Where is Yachiro? Which one? The little girl or Captain Anohina? The little girl. Hisoka chuckled in amusement as she pointed her finger at the Zanpakuto leaning against the wall next to Kenpake. Shouldn't you know that best? At first, Kenpake was confused about what Hisoka was talking about, but after realizing what was going on and remembering the battle, he had just experienced a massive smile appeared on his face. Right, it was like that. To think she was my Zanpakuto spirit all these years. Hisoka nodded her head in agreement with Kenpake's reminiscent words. However, she was somewhat surprised when a glint of sadness briefly passed through his face, confusing her for a short moment before a wry smile appeared on her face. Since you can use your Bankai, you can call her at any time. A glint of realization passed through Kenpake's eyes. Moments later, an excited little girl appeared in the middle of the room. Ken-chan? Did you have fun? You did, didn't you? Hehe, that was the best battle ever. Ah, I didn't have a chance to thank Bis Sis Yuna yet. Gotta go. As soon as she appeared, she immediately started babbling away and was just about to leave the room to find Yuna when Hisoka grabbed her by the scruff of her neck and raised her up like a kitten. Sensei is currently, busy. You can thank her later. No fair? I wanna go now. Hearing Yachiro's stubborn words, Hisoka simply shook her head and tossed her at Kenpake, who quickly caught her. Sensei is currently busy doing adult activities with Captain Anohina and Ranjiko. At first, Kenpake tilted his head in confusion, but moments later, he realized what was going on, causing his eyebrows to rise in question. He wasn't expecting that Retsu had an interest in that kind of stuff. He always assumed she to be like him, only interested in fighting. However, moments later, he simply shrugged his shoulder, no longer caring about this matter. Be obedient, Yachiro, you can thank her later. A pout appeared on Yachiro's face, but she nevertheless nodded her head before climbing onto Kenpake's body like he was a tree before sitting down on his shoulder. Fine, but I demand more cocoa. A warm smile too appeared on Hisoka's face as she nodded her head and got up from her sitting position. How long was I out? She was just about to leave to get more drinks when Kenpake asked another question, which Hisoka answered with a shrug of her shoulders. I'm not entirely sure, as there are no clocks here, but I would guess around 3 hours. Kenpake hummed in acknowledgement before he noticed something else that was rather weird. Now that I think about it, how come you aren't afraid of me? I don't really care what other people think about me, but people under the lieutenant level are usually afraid of me, so I'm rather curious why you aren't. Hearing yet another question from Kenpake, Hisoka briefly wondered whether he had always been this talkative, but she quickly concluded that the likely cause was his extraordinarily good mood after fighting Yuna. So, with a shrug of her shoulders, she answered Kenpake's question. It's because I have nothing to fear from you. Kenpake's eyebrows rose as his aura grew a bit sharper. Who? And why is that? Because I'm much weaker than you. As soon as Kenpake heard Hisoka's answer, his rising aura collapsed as his shoulders sagged, almost causing Yachiro to fall off. Right, he wouldn't bother cutting down weaker people that didn't oppose him. If he were to do so, he might as well start attacking insects, random wildlife, and stones. So, without further interruptions, Hisoka left the room to satisfy Yachiro's demands, leaving Kenpake and her to themselves. Seeing Hisoka leaving the room, Kenpake took his sword and inspected it. I want to fight her again. You can't, Ken-chan. You are still hurt. Kenpake could only smile wryly while nodding his head when he heard Yachiro's words. Indeed, his whole body was currently hurting, undoubtedly the after effect of using his Bankai. Yes, it's too early to fight her again. Besides, he raised his sword higher as his eyes filled with determination, and a twisted grin split his face. Before I fight her again, I need to get stronger. Much stronger. Meanwhile, above the underground cave, utter chaos had broken loose within Siriti. First, it only started snowing softly over around an area of a few square kilometers, which was a weird phenomenon, especially considering it was far from winter, but considering there was a captain that could control ice, people weren't too surprised. However, when a raging blizzard suddenly engulfed all of Siriti, people started panicking, resulting in the head captain giving out a command to find Captain Hitsugiya, the one who could control ice, and either stop him from whatever he was doing or, in case he wasn't doing anything, to stop whatever was going on. The result? Captain Hitsugiya was easily found within his division's compound, looking at the falling snow in a daze. Only after shaking him seriously did he manage to get out of his stupor, and as soon as he heard the captain commander's order, he activated his Bankai and flew in the air. Unfortunately, he couldn't control what was going on in the slightest. He could neither influence the weather nor could he handle the falling snow, which bewildered him greatly. So, he started communicating with his Zanpakuto only to receive an answer laced with fear that clearly stated that it was unwilling even to try seizing control of a single snowflake, confusing Captain Hitsugiya even more. Wasn't my Zanpakuto supposed to be the strongest ice-type Zanpakuto? What is going on? What kind of phenomenon is this? However, before that question could be answered, the blizzard calmed down and returned to its initial form, a small patch of land with snow gently falling from the sky. Seeing that everything had calmed down, Captain Hitsugiya was confident that he could remove the last patches of the snowstorm, but yet again, his ability failed, not working in the slightest. What the hell is this? Despite yelling out that question, no one answered him as everyone looked at the constant snowfall in bewilderment. Just like that, another 2 days passed as Yuna indulged herself in other activities. As soon as Kenpeki was healed, he left the underground cave, Yuna not really caring about that due to his shitty sense of direction and general thirst for another battle. She was certain Kenpeki wouldn't disclose her hiding spot. Wbnovels uptez on nov/l/bi.com. Closely following Kenpeki, Hisoka left as well, as she could no longer stand the constant noise generated by Yuna's activities. Yet again, Yuna didn't care about her leaving, as she knew that Hisoka wouldn't be stupid enough to betray her. Luckily, Hisoka wasn't important enough for someone to notice her absence in the first place, while Kenpeki wasn't gone long enough for people to notice his absence. Everyone just assumed he spent the whole time randomly running around the city, trying to find his target. Retsu and Rangiku, on the other hand, decided to stay inside the hideout for now. Both of them were already confirmed to have gotten kidnapped, so they decided to spend some time in the hideout, relaxing their bodies and minds. After having some fun with Retsu and Rangiku, Yuna decided to yet again cause some mischief inside Siritai, causing its inhabitants to shiver without knowing the cause. And around an hour later, Yuna found her target, the Omida clan. Or, to be more precise, Marekyo Omida. Apparently, the Omida clan was one of Siritai's noble clans, making them a decent target in the first place, but Marekyo was a little bit of a special case. Somehow, he managed to make it to the position of lieutenant of the 2nd Division, which specializes in stealth, while being heavily overweight. So, Yuna smelled foul play, thinking that he got the position through his family. Obviously, that wasn't certain, so Yuna decided to test him a little and see if he had adequate skills for that position, and if not, well, there were a few Kido spells and techniques Yuna would like to test out. So, after stealthily looking around the compound for a few more minutes, Yuna found the person she was looking for. Unfortunately, he was accompanied by a petite woman with black hair and grey eyes wearing a captain's robe. Captain Swafon, huh? Not sure what I should do about her. From what I have heard, she has a strict no-nonsense attitude, which isn't really my type. Oh well, in the current situation, I can't do anything about her anyway. She is neither as free-spirited as Rangiku nor can I lure her with battles like Retsu. Oh well, guess I'll test out the big boy and leave. As she finished those thoughts, she appeared behind Marekyo at a speed she was confident Rangiku would notice and threw a punch at his face. Since both of them were lieutenants, Marekyo should at least be able to detect an approach at that level. Just before Yuna's fist could reach his face, it was intercepted by a hand. However, that hand, unfortunately, didn't belong to Marekyo, but Swafon instead, causing Yuna to shake her head. To think the intruder would dare to sneak attack someone, in my presence. You are either confident, stupid, or insane. I'll take confident and insane. You can give stupid to your lieutenant. Seriously, I half expected it, but he really bought himself into his position, didn't he? Naturally, Marekyo was outraged hearing Yuna's claim and angrily pointed his finger at her while she disengaged Swafon. What? Nonsense, I got this position fair and square. As soon as he finished speaking, Yuna snorted in disdain while shaking her head. You didn't even notice such a mediocre stealth attack. No matter how I look at it, someone that unaware of his surrounding has no place in a stealth force. Hearing Yuna's words, Swafon had some doubts bubbling inside as she glanced at Marekyo. Or rather, she glanced at his bulging belly. When he got promoted, he certainly had what it took to get the position, but is that still the case? Hasn't that belly been getting bigger? A shiver went through Marekyo's spine as Swafon glared at his belly. Oi, Captain, you aren't actually taking this intruder's words to heart, are you? Not really, but she certainly is making a good point. But why do I have to block a sneak attack directed at you? Did I suddenly turn from your captain into your babysitter? After we capture this woman, you can look forward to some very intense training sessions. Marekyo's eyes widened in horror as soon as Swafon informed him about the additional training before he glared at Yuna angrily. Damn it, this is all because of you. As he finished speaking, he unsheathed his blade and held it in front of him as it started glowing. Crush them, Gagetsuberry. As soon as he finished speaking, his Zanpakuto turned into a giant metal ball with spikes attached to it, dumbfounding Yuna. What the hell is that supposed to do? Does he throw it? Or maybe he uses it like a fancy rook in close combat. Both sound pretty stupid, that thing must have some kind of unique ability. Right, everything else doesn't make sense. While Yuna was chatting with Karema, Marekyo bent his knees, and moments later, he vanished and reappeared behind Yuna using flash step, his Zanpakuto held high above his head, ready to smash it down. You are actually using it like a fancy rock. You idiot, stop. Unfortunately, Yuna and Wbnovel yelled at the same time, preventing Merekio from hearing what his captain said. Although Yuna was genuinely shocked by the silly method Merekio fought, in the end, he simply wasn't her opponent. So, she merely raised her hand, careful not to hit one of the spikes on Merekio's weapon, and easily caught it. Simultaneously, she moved her other and smacked the hilt of her sword into his side, making him faint. Seeing her lieutenant getting one shot, Wbnovel clicked her tongue in annoyance. That damn fatso. What is he thinking attacking an enemy that is willing to attack a captain by himself? Well, Wbnovel, at least he has proven himself to be capable of a pretty decent flash step, reducing the punishment I planned for him. Wbnovel couldn't help but scowl at how casually Yuna addressed her and briefly wondered how she knew the name flash step, but hearing the word punishment, she shelved those things away for now. Punishment? What are you talking about? I don't you have any business punishing anyone intruder. Well, if I want to punish someone, I do it. As if anyone could stop me. Besides that, it's not like it is any harsh punishments. Just a few little keto prank spells I came up with. Wbnovel's eyebrows rose when she heard the term keto prank spells, as she didn't believe that a random intruder could come up with new keto spells, and even if they could, she couldn't fathom why they would bother developing pranks instead of something worthwhile. What are you even talking about? Whatever, it doesn't really matter, as I will capture you anyway. Tell me, do you know what happens when the Corps Commander of the Executive Militia Corps draws their blade? As she finished speaking, she grabbed the handle of the blade she wore horizontally on her back while a vicious grin appeared on her face. What am I talking about? Well, you know, stuff like forcing him to fart randomly in public, accommodated by a bunch of confetti, or him occasionally getting a cake in the face. Stuff like that. As for that blade thingy, I have no idea. Wbnovel was just about to draw her blade when she heard Yuna's answer, causing her face to become deadpan. Seriously? Farts and cake? That's really immature. Yuna's eyes widened in shock as she pointed a heavy shaking finger at Wbnovel. Why you didn't just say that? Take that back immediately, or you will no longer have a spot in my harem. Who the hell wants a spot in your harem? As Wbnovel yelled at her, a smug smile appeared on Yuna's face while proudly puffing out her chest. Isn't that obvious? Everyone, whether young or old, men or women, everyone wants in, but alas, I, unfortunately, have high standards and can only take in a selected few. Meaning, hot women. Hey, that's just not true. Appearance isn't really important. Rather than that, they need to be fun to be around. And you surely aren't saying that because appearance can be fixed with cultivation techniques, right? Hehe. Ga Yuna hypocrite, ga ha ha ha. You sure know some hard words, chaos. Chaos, smart, ga. Meanwhile, Wbnovel was looking at Yuna in utter bewilderment. You are delusional. I prefer the term insane. Anyway, what about that sword thing? Hearing Yuna's question, Wbnovel managed to get out of her bewilderment as her vicious smile returned. That's right, as soon as my blade is drawn. Wbnovel unsheathed her blade, causing dozens of people in black clothing to appear around Yuna using flash step. The execution begins. Meanwhile, Yuna looked around the people who had just appeared and nodded in approval. Those were some pretty good flash steps. I'm a little impressed. Wbnovel couldn't help but get a little angry at how nonchalant Yuna talked despite being surrounded by her squad. She was just about to start talking when the atmosphere around Yuna shifted, turning much more dangerous. In that case, do you know what happens when this Yuna Uzumaki draws her blade? Yuna flared her spiritual pressure, causing Wbnovel to frown and a few weaker members of her squad to take a step back. This will be harder than I thought. Hopefully, I can overwhelm her with my speed. While Wbnovel was thinking about her next step, Yuna slowly pulled out one of her blades, and as soon as it was fully drawn, a smirk appeared on her face. Cake happens? Splat. Dozen of cakes appeared out of nowhere and smacked every single person surrounding Yuna, including Swafun and Merekio, into the face. Wbnovel instantly wiped the cake out of her face and glared at Yuna angrily. However, the person she tried to glare at was no longer there, and the only thing that was left was an ice statue of Yuna that was smirking at her in an insufferable manner, almost causing one of her blood vessels to burst in anger. If it was just that, Wbnovel might have been still fine, but on top of that insufferable smirk, the statue looked like it was languidly stretching its body, perfectly revealing its curves while almost showing the stuff that shouldn't be shown. F***ck? Why are you standing around in a daze? Search her and bring me her head, now. As she finished speaking, everyone around her scattered to look for Yuna while Wbnovel used flash step to approach Yuna's statue and swung her blade at its neck. Clang. The sound of metal hitting something incredibly hard echoed through the courtyard, dumbfounding Wbnovel as her blade didn't even leave a scratch on the statue. What the hell? This looks like normal ice, how isn't it breaking? Again and again, she slashed at the statue's neck, and the more she slashed, the angrier she became. Even the thought of using her Bankai briefly flashed through her mind, but she quickly dismissed that thought. So, after hacking at Yuna's statue for a few more minutes, she decided to simply give up and leave with the thought that it at least didn't stand at her home. As Wbnovel was leaving, a pair of purple eyes looked at her in amusement and followed closely behind her. She didn't know it yet, but as soon as that purple pair of eyes found out where she lived, there would be a new addition to Wbnovel's home. Divine Ice Style, Heavenly Statue Creation Substitution Art. Is stalking a woman and erecting a statue of oneself in her home the newest method to pick up women? Hehe. Erect. Ga erect. Ga ha ha ha. Sigh, I'll take that as a yes. Chapter 32. Siriti close to collapsing? A few more days passed, and deep in the headquarter of Siriti's 8th Division, a middle-aged man wearing a woman's kimono was sitting on the ground in front of a small table and leisurely sipping from a sake cup. Ha, this is how life should be. As those words left his mouth, he looked skyward at the snow that was gently falling all around him, causing him to smile leisurely. Coincidentally, part of the 8th Division's buildings was close enough to be hit by Yuna's snowstorm. Although things got rather nasty while the blizzard rampaged, the middle-aged man enjoyed the gentle snowfall. However, the quiet atmosphere vanished rather quickly as a stern-looking woman with glasses approached him with a serious expression. Oh no, Chan, come over here and give me a kiss. Instead of a kiss, the woman smacked a block of paper in his face, which he quickly grabbed before it could fall to the ground. Captain Kirako, here are more reports about people getting hit by cakes. Ignoring the screech of terror in the background, Shunsui chuckled in amusement as he took another sip of sake. Oh well, it is how it is, Nanao. However, Nanao ignored her captain's disinterested words as she adjusted her glasses and continued speaking. These ones are within Siriti, not in the world of the living. PFFFWAHT. Shunsui performed a splendid spit take, forcing Nanao to dodge to the side while glaring at her captain. Are you certain? The culprit is here, in Siriti. Nanao simply nodded her head as she resumed her explanation. Yes. It appears that the different division initially kept the incidents to themselves, probably for the same reason we didn't report anything about it. But since things kept escalating more and more, the lower-ranked Shinigami started talking with other divisions and it became very clear that the scale of incidents is far beyond what we had expected. Naturally, Shunsui was dumbfounded by what he had just heard. What he found especially weird was that he had not gotten any reports about this earlier. As if she could read his mind, a scowl appeared on Nanao's face as she continued her report. So far, none of our division's Shinigami have been hit within Siriti. I assume the culprit did that, so we only find out about this later on. Hearing Nanao's assumption, Shunsui gritted his teeth in anger while nodding his head. Damn it, because every division is prideful, none admitted to being pranked. I bet quite a few of the individual Shinigami didn't report that they were hit either, which would mean things are actually worse than we expected. However, with so many incidents, we surely have their face now, right? Hearing Shunsui's question, Nanao sadly lowered her head and answered him. Unfortunately, we don't. Shunsui sighed deeply when Nanao denied his question as he raised his cup, taking another sip. Sigh, we might actually have the same problem we have with the number of incidents. Someone might have seen the culprit's face, but they were pranked as well, resulting in their pride stopping them from reporting the incident. Nanao's eyes widened as she frantically started shaking her head, not believing that someone would not report the intruder's appearance just for the sake of their pride. That was completely different from reporting that you were pranked. Would someone really do that? Isn't that almost treason? Well, lower-ranked Shinigami probably would report the incident, but what if a captain got pranked? For example, do you think that Captain Kurotsuke would be willing to report that he got humiliated? Nanao gritted her teeth after hearing Shunsui's question, and after only a few seconds of thinking about it, she shook her head. She didn't believe he would make a report like that. Seeing Nanao shake her head, Shunsui sighed deeply as he leisurely leaned back, allowing his back to touch the snow-filled ground. Sigh, this is such a hassle. Worst of all, captains are the most likely to see the intruder but are also the ones least likely to report what had happened in case the intruder got away. Especially if the intruder had managed to prank them. Do you really think the intruder could trick a captain? Wouldn't that mean they are at least as strong as one? Nanao, they have been rampaging through Siriti for around a week now, and we still don't even know how they look. It would be more surprising if they didn't have captain-level strength, and I'm talking about one of the stronger ones. Nanao couldn't help but grit her teeth as soon as Shunsui stopped talking. Indeed, she didn't want it to be true, but no matter how she looked at it, the intruder was at captain level. And, worse of all, if they were truly the ones responsible for Captain Anohina's disappearance, then Siriti was in deep shit. Nanao might not know about who Captain Anohina really is, but she at least knew that she was one of the older Shinigami in the city. Sigh, can't things just return to being peaceful? Nanao was just about to leave Shunsui alone when another Shinigami hastily ran towards them, causing the duo to glance at each other briefly. More trouble. CC Captain Kiraku? SS something outrageous happened. Hearing the Shinigami's words, Shunsui could only sigh deeply while holding his head. He could already feel a headache coming. Out with it already. That, well, cough, hee. Seeing the Shinigami fumbling around, Shunsui's eyebrows twitched in irritation. Stop stalling? Out with it. Well. A giant, penis made out of ice appeared inside the Kukaki clan compound. The atmosphere stiffened while the man who had just made that report awkwardly looked away from Shunsui and Nanao. He really didn't want to be the one to make that kind of report, but unfortunately, his rank was pretty low, so his superiors one-sidedly made him do that report. As the Shinigami was sweating a little, Shunsui and Nanao mechanically turned their head toward where the Kukaki clan compound was, and indeed, there it was, a massive dick growing out of the middle of Siriti. Seeing that, Shunsui sighed deeply as he raised his cup to take another sip, but before he could do so, Nanao snatched it away. Shunsui was about to complain to her that right now wasn't the right moment to stop him from drinking during work hours when his chin hit the ground due to Naneo taking a deep gulp herself. He had never seen her drink any alcohol. Times sure are chaotic, aren't they? Meanwhile, in another part of the city, a young woman with long black hair was going on a rampage as she hacked away at an ice statue like it had killed her parents. Why did this thing appear in my home? Obviously, that young woman was Swafon, while the statue depicted Yuna. Frankly, Swafon went from being pissed off due to it to being somewhat terrified. Its absurd durability aside, it had actually changed poses a few times while Swafon wasn't looking, dumbfounding her greatly. She cursed the statue some more while hacking away at it before leaving the room to get herself something to drink. However, as soon as she returned to the room, she paused while the water glass she was holding fell to the ground. Swafon didn't even notice her feet getting wet due to the spilled water while her eyes were transfixed on the ice statue, which had changed poses yet again. However, this time the change was quite dramatic, as it usually only slightly changed its pose. Now, it was sprawled on the ground, its head and breasts pressed onto the ground, while its butt was high in the air. Additionally, the Shinigami garb it was initially wearing had vanished and was instead replaced with a snug-fitting bikini, revealing all the curves that could be revealed, briefly causing Swafon to lick her lips before managing to get out of her stupor. F***ck? I briefly thought that this shitty statue looked beautiful. I have had enough of this. As she finished her thoughts, a glint of insanity passed through her eyes as she drew her sword. Bankai. A few seconds later, a colossal explosion occurred within r18, while the small figure of Swafon could be seen getting flung away from it due to the recoil and the power of the explosion. Luckily, Swafon lived in a huge mansion with no other residences close by, resulting in no human casualties. However, due to the explosion, the only thing that remained intact from Swafon's mansion was a fully clothed ice statue that had its left hand resting on her hip while the other one was making a thumbs-up pose while squinting its left eye close. Meanwhile, a few minutes earlier, outside of r18, a decently sized group of people was looking at the new attractions in bewilderment. They were just about to look for a good way to infiltrate the city when a massive explosion occurred within the city. Well, seems like we need to hurry. If we don't get Nasan out of that city, nothing will be left of it. Wasn't the mission rescuing Rukia? Hearing Tatsuki's question, Naruto simply shrugged his shoulders as he leisurely answered her. Yes, that was initially the goal, but now that the city had to endure a full week of unsupervised Nasan, it should be pretty close to collapsing. While everyone was looking at Naruto with a mixture of doubt, disbelief, and bewilderment, Hinata gritted her teeth as she angrily stared at r18. Naruto saw that and could only smile wryly as he started speaking to her. How many, Hinata? Hearing Naruto's question, Hinata stopped glaring at r18 and looked at Naruto instead. 2. What? Nasan picked up 2 additional women for her harem in 7 days. Hearing Naruto's outburst, everyone looked at him and Hinata in shock, wondering how that kind of information was acquired while wondering if it actually was true. However, Naruto's following words almost caused everyone else to trip and faceplant to the ground. Only 2? Is Nasan getting rusty, or does r18 have no good women? Hinata glared at Naruto, causing him to awkwardly scratch his head, but she didn't comment or deny his words. Frankly, she was a little surprised that it turned out to be only 2 in the end. It could have gotten much worse. Tisk whatever, I'm going in, see you later. Who knows what will happen if Yuna continues acting unsupervised? Obviously, Yoriyuki wanted to stop her from acting recklessly, but before she could even get a word out, Hinata's presence had vanished, leaving everyone else dumbfounded, while Naruto chuckled in amusement. Well, just let her be. If it is stealth, then only very, very few could hope to match her. Frankly, as long as she doesn't actively try to attack me, I can't find her either. Yoriyuki wanted to claim that Naruto was talking nonsense and that Hinata was acting recklessly, but considering she couldn't notice her move either, there was no basis for doing so. While everyone was dumbfounded, Tatsuki asked a question that was actually on everyone's minds. How did Hinata find out about Yuna increasing her harem size? Hearing his girlfriend's question, Naruto awkwardly scratched his head while a mild chuckle escaped his lips. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. Anko always called it Hinata's first wife sense, but I have no idea how that actually works. The only thing I know is that it's pretty accurate. Anko? Who is that? Oh, that's just one of Nasan's women. Huh? Seriously? Why have I never seen her before? Well, that's a little complicated. How about I tell you about it when this mess is over? A frown appeared on Tatsuki's face when she noticed Naruto didn't want to talk about it, but she still nodded in satisfaction when he offered to tell her later. Considering there were currently quite a few people around them, she simply assumed that Naruto didn't want other people to hear the story. Anyway, Yuna and Hinata's weirdness aside, we should get moving. That explosion is a nice distraction for us to get into the city. Hearing Yoriyuki's words, everyone simply nodded their head as they prepared themselves to enter the city through the massive hole Yuna had left in the wall previously. Usually, a lot of Shinigami would mingle around it, preventing outsiders from entering while doing repair work, but now, all of them were going towards the previous explosion with their curiosity overpowering their sense of duty. While Naruto's group was walking towards the damaged wall, Hinata was rushing through the city at high speed. She had long passed the wall and was currently using Flash Step to travel through r18 at maximum speed toward the place she assumed Yuna to be at, in the middle of the snowstorm. Usually, that was a pretty good first step when trying to find Yuna. So, she quickly arrived at the relevant location but couldn't help but frown when she ended up at a dead end. She meticulously scanned the wall, and after doing so for a few minutes, her eyes shone in understanding. She might not be as good with Kido as Yuna, but that didn't mean she could find a hidden door as long as she knew where she was supposed to look for it. So, a few minutes later, the entrance to the hidden cave opened yet again, allowing Hinata to pass through it. After walking down a set of stairs for a few minutes, she arrived at a vast underground space that had snow gently falling from the ceiling, resulting in her head nodding in acknowledgement. Well, I don't know if Yuna is here, but it is rather certain that she at least had been here before. Realizing that, she was eagerly walking toward the middle of the cave, but before she could reach it, someone appeared behind her, pressing a blade to her neck. Who are you? However, to the surprise of the attacker, Hinata melted away, only leaving a puddle of water behind. What the H? Before the attacker could figure out what just happened, their instinct flared as they dodged to the side, resulting in a thin blade leaving a gash on her hip, which they healed by simply swiping their finger over it. The attacker looked around, but to their surprise, they couldn't see Hinata nor detect her presence. Instead of being afraid of the unknown enemy that, without a doubt, was hiding her presence, an insanity-ridden small smile appeared on the attacker's face. Who? To think someone could reach such a high level of stealth. I'm impressed. No sound could be heard in the underground cave as the attacker was slowly looking around, sword in hand and ready to strike, when a deep sigh echoed through the cave, causing the attacker to frown as Hinata appeared a few meters away from her. You are one of Yuna's women, aren't you? The name's Hinata. I'm one of Yuna's wives. Upted chapters and nfelben.com. Hearing Hinata's words, her attacker briefly paused, thinking whether they should continue attacking anyway or not, before smiling and sheathing their blade. There was no need to be hasty, they could fight any time they wished, but now it was time for introductions. Retsu Anohina, captain of the 4th Division and, as you have mentioned, one of Yuna's women. Hearing Anohina's name, Hinata could only smile wryly. Although she had already suspected her identity, considering Retsu was supposed to be a healer, Hinata had some doubts about her identity. Meanwhile, Retsu couldn't help but smile happily while thinking about her small exchange with Hinata. Yuna told me that there are more people that could match me by her side. Honestly, I didn't fully believe her for quite a while, but now, briefly fighting you, I know her words were true. Hinata simply shrugged her shoulders as she walked toward Retsu at a leisurely pace. So you are one of those that love battle, huh? No wonder Yuna got interested in you. Personally, I don't mind fighting you a few rounds, but as you have undoubtedly noticed, I'm more of an assassin type, so fighting me might not fight your taste. Well, I can fight head-on as well, but it's not my specialty. Retsu couldn't help but smile as Hinata claimed she wouldn't mind fighting her. Obviously, she noticed Hinata's preferred combat style being stealth-based and didn't mind in the slightest. She loved fighting, no matter in what form. As for more or less forcing Hinata into a fighting style, she didn't prefer to make fighting more fun. Retsu was a little conflicted. That's fine, I love fighting. No need to fight in a way you are not comfortable with. Hinata smiled lightly as she passed Retsu, resulting in her turning around as well as the duo moving side by side towards the middle of the room, where Hinata could already feel more presences. I wouldn't say that I'm not comfortable with it, as I frequently have sparring matches with Yuna using the head-on approach. I'll just be a little weaker than I should be. Retsu's steps briefly faltered after hearing that Hinata apparently fought Yuna frequently. Frankly, she was a little jealous as she perceived the fight she had with Yuna as the most fun she had ever had. Someone else having that kind of experience frequently naturally didn't make her happy. Obviously, Hinata noticed Retsu's mood change and chuckled in amusement. Well, what are you getting all gloomy for? I bet you already planned when you would challenge Yuna again, right? How about we fight her together the next time? Hearing Hinata's words, a glint passed through Retsu's eyes as the brief hope of actually defeating Yuna appeared in her mind. Frankly, she wasn't a fan of defeating someone in a 2-against-1 battle, but she also realized that Yuna was simply too strong for her to defeat by herself. Despite that, Retsu shook her head at Hinata's offer as the duo's eyes met. Although I admit that a 2-against-1 would be fun, but I think I would like to fight you first. I want to see the strength of those that stand by Yuna's side. Although Hinata was slightly surprised by Retsu's words, in the end, she could only smile. I see, in that case, you better be ready. As she finished speaking, Hinata's spiritual pressure erupted out of her and covered the whole cave, causing Retsu to smile, battle hunger clearly visible on her face. Oh yes, I think I'll enjoy staying with Yuna's group. Chapter 33, The Usual and Ichimaru Jin. A few moments later, Hinata and Retsu reached a steaming hot spring with 2 naked women comfortably resting inside it. Seeing the blonde woman's breasts floating in the water, Hinata's eyebrows twitched in irritation before she took a deep breath to calm herself down. No need to be jealous, I'm still growing. Surely, I'll reach that kind of level as well after when I'm fully grown. While Ranjiko looked at Hinata in confusion, Yuna only gave her a leisurely smile. Yo, it's been a while, Hinata. Hinata could only roll her eyes after hearing Yuna's greeting, causing her to chuckle in amusement. Maybe it was for you, but I just arrived in this place. Oh, right, should have been an offset of around a week. I hope you arrived here without any further problems. The most updated NVELs are published on n0velj.n.co/m. Hinata couldn't help but snort in disdain as soon as Yuna finished speaking while simultaneously removing her clothing, entering the hot spring, and sitting down on Yuna's lap. The arrival itself was no problem, but I'm not sure what I'm supposed to think when the first thing I realize after coming here is that you have picked up another 2 women. While Rangiku realized who Hinata was due to her words and actions, Yuna couldn't help but chuckle in amusement while resting her chin on Hinata's shoulder and hugging her waist. Hehe, no matter how you look at it, I was seriously holding myself back. After all, it's only 2 people, and the city isn't even damaged. Hinata could only shake her head while glaring at Yuna from the corner of her eye, resulting in another amused chuckle from Yuna. What do you mean by didn't damage the city? Pretty sure that massive explosion that happened not too long ago counts as damage. Hearing Hinata's words, Yuna's hands, which were currently slowly advancing towards Hinata's breasts, stopped moving as Retsu and Rangiku started glaring at Yuna. Obviously, Yuna had told them that Naruto and a few others would be invading r18 soon, but she also told them that there very likely wouldn't be any causalities. So, how couldn't they look at Yuna in doubt when they heard a massive explosion occur in the middle of the city? Noticing that everyone was staring at her, Yuna couldn't help but awkwardly scratch her head as she smiled wryly. Well, this might surprise you, but I swear that however that explosion came to be, I haven't planted any explosive materials within r18 yet. Although that does surprise me, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to think about you using the word yet in that sentence. Hehe. Sigh. Hearing the conversation between Yuna and Hinata, Retsu and Rangiku briefly glanced at each other before they simply shrugged their shoulders. Since Yuna was stronger than both of them combined, it was not like the duo could do anything to stop her, so they decided not to bother with this matter and just enjoy themselves down here for a few more days. r18 will be fine, probably. Stop it. Retsu and Rangiku's heads immediately snapped towards the source of the sound they had just heard and noticed Hinata squirming on Yuna's lap while frantically pressing her hand on her mouth in an attempt to stop herself from moaning. MHHS, stop it already. I've known these two for like moan 5 minutes. So, I don't see your point. Don't you like being watched? Ugh, moan, didn't you bully me into having that fetish? Well, you like being bullied as well, so don't see the problem. While Hinata was squirming around on Yuna's lap, resisting but not really resisting, Retsu and Rangiku could only smile wryly at each other. Since Hinata could simply stand up from Yuna's lap, neither of them believed that Hinata actually wanted to get away from Yuna, and considering the usual pattern when they took a dip in the hot spring, the duo wasn't even surprised with this outcome. Come over, Rangiku. As I said, Hinata likes getting bullied. Is that so? Then don't mind if I do. While Rangiku was slowly approaching Yuna and Hinata while wiggling her finger, Retsu could only smile wryly at the scene in front of her. She briefly wondered whether she should sit this one out of not before simply shrugging her shoulders while starting to undress. Oh well, might as well have a little fun. Meanwhile, a weird-looking person with pure white skin and the top half of their face painted black wasn't having fun at all. Additionally, 3 golden protrusions decorated his chin and the sides of his head, and he wore a weird hat that pointed sideways. His name was Mayuri Kurotsuki. He was the captain of the 12th Division of the Godi I-13 and the 2nd president of the Shinigami Research Institute. The last week went rather horribly for him, and all his worries could be summarized with 3 simple words: ice, snow, and cake. He was currently deep in his research room and was surrounded by cake and ice, while an ice statue of a beautiful woman stood in the middle of the room. All these things were samples that were brought to him from all over r18, while the ice statue was delivered to him from Swafon's destroyed home. She had claimed that the invader had probably infiltrated her house and planted a bomb inside. As for the ice statue, Swafon claimed that she had no idea where it came from, making Mayuri highly suspicious of her. Unfortunately, as a fellow captain, he couldn't interrogate her. Anyway, he got the second best option, the statue itself. However, no matter how many tests I run, this is normal ice. So why doesn't it melt, while not even I can put a scratch on it? The snow at least melts normally, but considering Captain Hitsugiya claimed that he couldn't control it, there must be something special about it as well. Despite that, it appears to be normal snow. What is happening? As soon as he finished speaking, his gaze landed on one of the cake samples delivered to him, causing his frown to deepen even further. And what's with these cakes? Exactly like the ice and snow, it appears to be regular cakes. Well, some of the people who delivered the samples to him claimed that it was especially tasty, but that isn't exactly useful for my investigation. As he spoke those words, he crouched in front of the ice statue to inspect it closer, leaning forward while adjusting the magnifier covering his right eye. It's highly detailed, and if it weren't entirely made out of ice, I could almost think of it as alive. Such fascinating craftsmanship. I really wonder what the purpose of this statue, gag. As Mayuri was talking to himself, his head came closer and closer to the statue, inspecting every little detail, trying to find something that wasn't just ice. And as he was lost in his curiosity, his mouth came rather close to the statue's crotch area, and before he could understand what was going on, something long entered his mouth and hit the back of his mouth, causing him to gag and reel backward. He looked at the statue in bewilderment, and as soon as he saw what had happened, his spiritual pressure erupted out of him explosively, instantly covering the whole research institute. Instead of its previous thumbs-up pose, it now had both of its hands resting on its hips while a large phallic object was proudly pointing skyward from the place between its legs. There was no need to say what that phallic object was. Whoever made this will pay for insulting me like this. I will destroy this vile creation, no matter what it takes. Bankai. As another explosion occurred in r18, Naruto and the rest of the group had decided to simply slip through the hole in the wall Yuna had left behind. Unfortunately, as soon as they had slipped through, a rather surprising person appeared in front of them, Jin Ichimaru, one of r18's captains. Initially, Naruto considered fighting him, but fighting a captain-level thread this early in the game was not a good idea. After all, who knows how many more people will come here while Naruto is fighting. So, Naruto quickly decided that retreat was the correct choice. Unfortunately, before he could say anything, Ichigo attacked Jin, almost causing Naruto to facepalm. You idiot, get back. Hearing Yoroichi's yell, Naruto nodded in approval, while everyone else wasn't entirely sure what to do. Seeing everyone's indecisiveness, Naruto rolled his eyes in annoyance as he shot forward to assist Ichigo while simultaneously giving out a command. Retreat, I'll fetch Ichigo. No, that's too dangerous. While everyone decided to obey Naruto for now due to the authority deeply ringing in his voice, Yoroichi tried to stop him, but Naruto wasn't bothered by that. It isn't for me. As soon as he finished speaking, he vanished from his position, closing half the distance toward Ichigo almost instantly, causing Yoroichi's eyes to widen in surprise. Shit, that one's a monster as well. Very well, everyone retreat. We'll look for another point of entry. Yes. Since the two people who were more or less considered the leader of this group came to consent, they moved immediately and retreated for now as Naruto had almost caught up to Ichigo. Unfortunately, before Naruto could reach him, he had already clashed swords with Jin, causing the latter to grin in a creepy fashion. Oh, you aren't afraid of me? Of course not. While Ichigo confirmed that he apparently wasn't afraid of Jin, despite not really understanding how strong he actually was, Jin put some more strength in his blade, forcing Ichigo to slide back a few meters, allowing Naruto to catch up with him. What are you doing, Ichigo? We are not here to defeat the captains but to save Rukia. What's the purpose of picking a fight with a powerful opponent we don't even need to defeat? But he stands in our way. We need to defeat him. Are you an idiot? Is this a linear RPG? We don't need to defeat every boss to clear the game. There are other paths we can take. Hearing Naruto's words, Ichigo couldn't help but awkwardly look away while a small blush appeared on his face. For some reason, he felt like he shouldn't back down and just continue fighting until he had rescued Rukia, but after hearing Naruto's words, he felt a little silly for thinking so. Anyway, as the duo was briefly chatting, the creepy smile on Jin's face widened as he pointed the tip of his weirdly small sword at Ichigo. Oh, so you are Kurosaki Ichigo? In that case, I definitely can't let you pass. Shoot to kill Shinso. Hearing Jin activate his Shikai, Naruto's instincts flared as he could already make a good guess about what would happen next due to Jin's stance. So, he immediately got between Ichigo and Jin as he drew his blade, instantly turning it into a pair of well-fitting gloves. As he expected, Jin's blade extended at an incredibly fast pace and pierced towards Naruto, who angled his gloves in an upward manner, so he wouldn't have to tank the full impact of Jin's sword directly. And, just as he had planned, the moment Jin's sword collided with Naruto's gloves, the upward force of the collision was too much for Jin to control, forcing his sword to point slightly upward, cleanly missing Naruto, Ichigo and everyone running away behind them. However, as soon as he realized that he had missed, the size of Jin's sword was reduced instantly, returning it to its original state at a frightening pace. Retreat, Ichigo. Ichigo couldn't help but grit his teeth when he heard Naruto's authority-filled voice. However, he also realized that he could barely see the attack Naruto just deflected, making it rather clear that this fight might be a little much for him to take part in. Realizing this, Ichigo gritted his teeth as he turned around. Only now did he truly understand that there was no point fighting this fight right now. Someone caught them at the gate, but there probably were other means of entrance. If they had been attacked while already in the middle of r18, it would have been a different matter, but there was no reason to commit to such a high-risk fight when they hadn't even entered r18 yet. Don't die, Naruto. Hearing Ichigo's order, Naruto couldn't help but chuckle in amusement as the wind surrounding him grew stronger. So, you are not going to stop him? Nah, I'm fine. Naruto couldn't help but raise an eyebrow after Jin answered his question. It was rather clear that there was more to this whole encounter than meets the eye. The fact that Jin knew about Ichigo was already suspicious enough, and now it appears that Jin wasn't even willing to fight Ichigo properly. Something is definitely fishy here. I need to ask Nae-san what is going on. I'm sure she has already figured out quite a bit. As those thoughts passed his mind, Jin adjusted where the tip of his sword pointed before it extended yet again, causing Naruto to chuckle in amusement as he used the same method as before to deflect it. Say, that extending sword. A smirk appeared on Naruto's face as his gaze landed on the place between Jin's legs. Are you perhaps compensating for something? The ever-present smile on Jin's face twitched for a moment as he adjusted where the tip of his sword was pointing yet again, causing Naruto's eyes to widen. Hey, what am I supposed to tell my girlfriend if you cut that part off? I still need that. As he said that, he lightly sidestepped, dodging the tip of Jin's sword, which quickly burrowed itself into the ground a few meters behind Naruto. Oh, The previous attack held no killing intent, but this one did. Did I hit a weak point? Jin couldn't help but frown when he heard Naruto's words. He admitted that his last move was a little childish, but for his opponent to actually detect that he never meant to kill them was rather abnormal to him. It's one of the twins, so I guess I shouldn't be too surprised about abnormal things surrounding them, but for him detecting that I actually didn't plan to Ichigo is rather disturbing. Of course, I don't try to kill him. After all, isn't he just a little brat, just like you? I might as well cut down stones. But the dick joke got you, didn't it? Hearing Naruto's teasing words, Jin's eyebrows twitched in irritation as he gave his best to maintain the snake-like smile on his face. Seems like the sister isn't the only one who is infuriating to talk with. This guy is really annoying. Whatever, it is time for you to leave, so I'll make you leave. Yet again, the tip of Jin's sword shot toward Naruto, who couldn't help but smirk at that. Unlike the previous time, Naruto blocked the sword tip with his armored-covered right hand while the left one stabilized the sword, so it would slip away. Simultaneously, Naruto jumped as a smirk appeared on his face. Hihi, what made you think I wanted to stay here? See you soon. Since Naruto was midair, Jin's sword instantly pushed him backward at high speed, pushing him outside the walls of r18 due to him slightly adjusting his position beforehand, allowing him to retreat as well. Jin frowned deeply as he realized Naruto had gotten away just like that. Although he didn't plan to capture or kill him from the start, he didn't like how Naruto got away. Jin was a powerful captain, who had maintained that position for quite a while now, but despite that, he was somehow played with by a young man that hasn't even reached the age of 20. He wanted to have the upper hand in this confrontation, only allowing the other party to flee when he wanted to, but he utterly failed. Not only was his release easily blocked, even his manhood was insulted while allowing Naruto to control the pace of the encounter, making Jin somewhat angry. For a split second, he considered going after Naruto, but he briefly shelved that idea. After all, there was a plan to follow, and he didn't have the leisure to act on his own. Whatever. If I get another shot at him, I'll kill him, and if I don't, then so what? So, Jin turned his back to the situation and walked away, a pinch of dissatisfaction clearly visible on his face. Meanwhile, Shunsui was sprawled on a table while his lieutenant, Nanao, was sprawled on the floor not too far away from him. No-no-chan, a kiss, give me a kiss. Shut up, stiffed captain. Both of them were pretty drunk as empty bottles were spread all over the ground surrounding the duo. Moments later, another Shinigami entered the courtyard, immediately pausing his steps as he noticed his captain and lieutenant drunkenly sprawled around. Is it okay to make a report? Or cake attack? Get lost, not interested. The Shinigami wiped away the sweat on his forehead as he slowly approached the drunken duo. It's not that. There was some serious damage dealt to the 2nd and 12th Division. Hearing that there was actually some damage aside from giant ice penises and cake, Shunsui immediately sat up. Although he was still pretty drunk, now he was at least paying proper attention. What happened, Heek? Well, a giant explosion tore apart Captain Swafon's home, luckily resulting in no casualties. She claims that the intruder must have snuck into her home and planted some explosives. Additionally, huge parts of the Shinigami Research Institute had been severely damaged. Captain Kuratsuka claims that the invader entered it and went on a rampage while he wasn't there and destroyed all the evidence that had been collected about them, except for a single ice statue. This one had no casualties either. As soon as the Shinigami finished their report, he couldn't help but sweat a little. After all, even they, a low-ranking Shinigami, could tell that this report was suspicious as hell. However, he could only report what the higher UPS had told him, so they really didn't know what else to do. Okay, you are dismissed. Heek. Surprisingly, Shunsui dismissed the Shinigami instantly, confusing them greatly. However, after seeing Shunsui's empty eyes and Nanao chugging another bottle of alcohol, the Shinigami immediately nodded his head and quickly left. I did what I was supposed to do, so it's no longer my problem. Chapter 34, switched genre and Naruto putting it into Ichigo. A while later, Naruto regrouped with the others, and after Yoriyuki finished scolding Ichigo for making a move too quickly, she started speaking to the rest of the group. Well, that didn't work out. It's rather unlucky that the first person we met was actually a captain. If it had been a lower-ranked Shinigami, we could have just knocked them out. While everyone nodded their heads, Naruto couldn't help but frown as he suspected that Jin didn't appear in front of them out of coincidence. However, there was no point in informing the others about that, as he had no proper evidence, so he decided to continue listening to Yoriyuki instead. Since there is a gate rather close where Yuna invaded the city, we could try going in from there, but I don't think that will work out. So, instead of using paths that are already there, we'll create our own point of entry. Yet again, everyone nodded their heads as Yoriyuki turned around and started walking toward a nearby village, the rest of the group following closely behind. Since Yoriyuki seemed to know what to do, everyone easily followed her. A while later, the group entered a small wooden house, where they met an old man drinking tea. Apparently, Yoriyuki knew the old man, and after a short moment of chatting, she asked the whereabouts of someone called Kyukakushiba. While Yoriyuki was chatting with the old man, the door burst open, followed by a man holding reins sliding into the room face first. Clap clap clap. Nice entry. At least an 8 out of 10. While Tatsuki lightly hit the back of Naruto's head for making fun of a stranger, said stranger got up from the ground and immediately glared at Naruto. The moment he saw Naruto's clothes, his glare intensified even further. What's a shitty Shinigami doing here? Pretty sure that's none of your business. What did you say? As soon as Naruto dismissed the man's question, he became angry and closed in on Naruto, causing him to roll his eyes. He had fought in a war before and fought the strongest of the strongest, so cheap thug methods like this obviously couldn't intimidate him. Geez, are you seriously trying to pick a fight over a little bit of teasing? What are you? 5. Like I give a shit about your words? I'm picking a fight because you are a Shinigami. Since the man clearly wanted to escalate the situation, the old man Yoriyuki was previously speaking to spoke up. Ganjo, calm down. That Shinigami isn't a bad person. Although the old man didn't have much of a conversation with Naruto yet, Naruto's polite attitude and kind smile immediately won the old man over. Unfortunately, Ganjo couldn't care less about the old man's words and reeled his fist back. He's a Shinigami, so he obviously is a bad person. There are no good Shinigami. That's quite racist. As those words left Naruto's mouth, he chuckled in amusement, and before Ganjo could understand what was going on, he was spinning through the air and crash-landed on the ground. The moment Ganjo landed, Naruto's gaze moved away from him and landed on Tatsuki, who was currently holding her chin deep in thought. Well, how was that? The technique was a little rough, but that was a pretty good throw. Hearing that Tatsuki gave her approval, Naruto happily nodded his head with a smile on his face. However, that smile quickly turned into a smirk as he gave Tatsuki a dirty look. Hihi, how about a little kiss as a reward? A light blush appeared on Tatsuki's face as she suppressed the desire to hit Naruto, causing him to chuckle in amusement while the other people in the room only rolled their eyes. You are slowly reaching Yuna levels of shamelessness. Sorry, Kurama, that is an apex that cannot be reached. I guess that's true. While Naruto was flirting with Tatsuki and chatting with Kurama, Ganjo got up from the ground and looked at Naruto in confusion. He had not the slightest clue what had just happened, making him wary of Naruto. However, before he could do anything else, another man burst into the room, and after frantically looking around, he found Ganjo and started speaking. Boss, it's bad. It's already 9 o'clock. What? Shit, I have to go. As soon as he finished speaking, he whistled loudly with the help of his hand, resulting in a big boar bursting into the room. He quickly sat down and rode away, and as he was doing so, he turned around to Naruto and said a few last words. You better don't run away. I'll get you the next time. Seeing the bizarre scene of a man riding away on a boar, Naruto really didn't know what he should say, while the other people in the room were somewhat dumbfounded as well. The hell? Who tells some not to run away while riding a boar into the sunset? Is that some kind of weird flag? Do I smell a genre change? Sorry, still into women. Are you sure? Imagine a naked, hairy man. Any reactions? Yeah, a shudder of disgust, and why are you even talking about stuff like that? Hey, are you the only one allowed to talk shit to mess with somebody? Okay, fair enough. Anyway, the old man apparently knew the approximate location of the person Yoriyuki was looking for, so the group quickly traveled to their destination, and around an hour later, they arrived at something. Who builds their house like this? No idea, Tatsuki, but now we at least know why they don't live with the other villagers. Yeah, there is no way they could accept such a weird building in the village, Naruto. Oh, this time, it's two hands holding the banner. Hearing Yorikai's words, everyone's head snapped towards her in bewilderment, with everyone having the same question in their minds. The theme changes. In front of them was a normal-looking wooden house with a ridiculously high chimney on its roof. So far, things weren't too weird. However, right in front of the house, two huge stone arms grew out of the ground, holding a huge banner that had Kyukakushiba written on it, dumbfounding everyone except for Yoriyuki, who apparently was used to that kind of sight. Before they could go any further, two burly men appeared in front of them, stopping them just before they could walk underneath the banner. You are wearing unusual clothing, and two of you are even Shinigami. Bunch of suspicious people, you better go away, or we'll kill you. While Naruto was clenching his fists, preparing to try a few more of the karate moves Tatsuki had shown him, Yoriyuki jumped on his shoulder, instantly changing the atmosphere. Oh, so it was Yoriyuki Dano. We apologize for the rude behavior. Apparently, Yoriyuki knew these two, ending the fight before it could even happen, and moments later, their group walked through the house's door, which immediately led to a set of stairs going down. Don't worry about it. Since you didn't see me at first, it can't be helped. Moments later, one of the men started guiding Naruto's group down the stairs, and after walking for a minute, they arrived in front of a door. Please wait here for a moment. I will. Kagenihiko, no need for them to wait. Interesting guests like that are always welcome. Let them in. Yes. Moments later, the man, who apparently was called Kagenihiko, opened the door, revealing a busty, one-armed woman with black hair. Yo, Yoriyuki, it's been a while. Due to the woman revealing clothes that almost had her breasts spilling out, Tatsuki moved as soon as she saw her and covered Naruto's eyes, causing him to chuckle in amusement, while everyone else was bewildered that Kyukakushiba apparently was a woman. You do realize that you can't cover my eyes the whole time we are here, right? At some point, I will have to look at her. A massive pout appeared on Tatsuki's face, but she nevertheless removed her hand from Naruto's eye, While that duo was in their own world, Yoriyuki had started talking to Kyukaku, asking her for a favor which she easily granted, stating she liked dealing with troublesome favors. As the duo finished their discussion, Kyukaku's gaze landed on the rest of the group, causing her to frown. Although I trust you, Yoriyuki, I don't trust the brats behind you, so you don't mind if I send an additional helper with them, do you? After getting Yoriyuki's confirmation, a door opened, revealing the man who had previously picked a fight with Naruto. Hello, my name is Ganjashiba Nick. Ah, it's you. He was just about to give a friendly greeting when he noticed Naruto, immediately causing him to start yelling as he approached Naruto. You bastard, let me beat you up. I would rather not. Yet again, before he could understand the situation, Ganjo was flying through the air before crashing to the floor. Naruto's gaze briefly landed on Tatsuki, who gave him a thumbs up, resulting in a goofy smile appearing on Naruto's face. You'll pay for this. Could you stop with your one-sided infatuation? Don't say it like that. Ganjo was just about to attack again when a fist smashed onto his head, yet again sending him to the ground. Stop this nonsense. Kyukaku, who was the one who just beat down Ganjo, gave his twitching body another glare before her gaze landed on Naruto. What's this all about? Feeling the seething glare of Kyukaku on her, Naruto only smiled lightly while shrugging his shoulders. We met before, and he attacked me because I'm a Shinigami, so I had to teach him a lesson and send him flying. So this is pretty much 100% Ganjo's fault. Seeing everyone, even Yoriyuki nodding their heads, Kyukaku went over to Ganjo's twitching body and gave it another kick, sending him flying into a wall. Stupid idiot. Why is he going around provoking Shinigami? Does he want to die? We can solve this matter later. For now, follow me. New N0vel chapters are published on N0v/e/lbin/co/m. Shortly after this little incident, Kyukaku revealed that she was a fireworks expert and showed everyone a massive cannon. Apparently, Yoriyuki's idea to get into Siridi through the air dumbfounded everyone present. However, seeing the huge cannon, Naruto couldn't help but smirk as he started speaking. I would say you are compensating for something with this huge thing, but that joke would fall rather flat considering you're a woman. Hearing Naruto's words, Kyukaku laughed loudly while slapping Naruto's back. Ha ha ha, you are quite the cheeky brat, aren't you? Hihi, out of curiosity, what's the survival rate? Around 50%. Oh, that's not too bad. How is that not bad? Naturally, everyone was outraged by Naruto and Kyukaku's outrageous conversation, not seeing 50% as a good survival rate. Seeing everyone's outrage, Kyukaku couldn't help but start laughing even harder. Obviously, she was joking, but she didn't expect Naruto to play into her joke, creating an even stronger reaction. Anyway, jokes aside, this is what you will need not to get blasted to smithereens during launch and landing. As she finished talking, she tossed a ball at Naruto, which he easily caught, looking at it with interest. This is a spirit core you just. Before Kyukaku finished speaking, a blinding light came from Naruto's direction before immediately fading away, leaving Naruto surrounded by a spherical dome of light. Sorry about that, I wasn't expecting that I would have to put that little spiritual power in for it to activate. Seeing Naruto instantly activate the spirit core properly, Kyukaku nodded in approval while she explained that that would be the cannon ball. Additionally, she explained that Siridi was surrounded by a barrier as well, and they would need the spirit core to break through that one as well. However, a problem popped up at this point. While Naruto, Tatsuki, and Orium easily mastered how to use the spiritual core, Ishida and Sato initially had some problems with the stability and the form of the sphere but got that fixed rather fast as well. So, the real problem was Ichigo, who didn't know how to use his spiritual power at all. Why can you do it so easily, Naruto? Didn't you become a Shinigami after me? That might be the case, but I've been training how to use spiritual power for a very long time now and didn't start doing so after becoming a Shinigami. Hearing Naruto's answer, Ichigo clicked his tongue in annoyance as his focus went back on the sphere he was holding while trying to somehow force his spiritual power in. Seeing Ichigo fumbling around with no plan at all, Naruto shook his head as he snatched the spiritual core out of his hand. Let me help you with this, sit down, close your eyes and open your mouth. I'll show you a trick to master this easier. Although Ichigo could understand the purpose of sitting down and closing his eyes, he was a little bewildered at how opening his mouth was supposed to help. Nevertheless, since Naruto wanted to help him, he decided to do as he said and sat down and closed his eyes while opening his mouth. Alright, and now, no matter what enters your mouth, keep it open. The moment Ichigo heard Naruto's words, he felt like something was fishy, so he decided to open his eyes and saw Naruto looking like he was about to pull his pants down. F***ck. Ichigo instantly got up and slashed his sword at Naruto in anger. Obviously, he didn't want to kill Naruto, so he swung his sword in a way that would, at worst, leave a little gash on Naruto's cheek, knowing that something like that would heal within a day or two. However, just as he was swinging down his sword, he felt something in his body move and flow into the sword, gathering at its blade. Seeing that, a smirk appeared on Naruto's face as he moved backward to create some distance from Ichigo, and moments later, a mass of spiritual power shot out of Ichigo's blade toward Naruto. Naruto's smirk widened as he gathered wind on his fist and smashed it into the incoming attack, cancelling its power out and settling the matter without damaging his surroundings. Well, did you feel your spiritual power move this time, Ichigo? Obviously, Ichigo was dumbfounded. He had used this kind of attack before when he was fighting Kisuk back in the world of the living. Well, it was much stronger than this time as he was seriously attacking back then, but he was not expecting that he could actually use that kind of attack again. More importantly, the first time he used it, he wasn't paying attention to his spiritual power at all while just going with the flow. However, this time he was conscious about it from the start and actually felt his spiritual power move. He couldn't help but smile wryly when he realized why Naruto had done what he had done. Seriously? Couldn't you have come up with a better method? Of course, I could have, but that wouldn't have been half as funny. Ha ha ha, oh ow ow, mercy, mercy. While Naruto was laughing loudly, Tatsuki, who had seen the whole incident, came over and pinched his waist, resulting in Naruto acting like he was suffering greatly, causing Tatsuki to roll her eyes. Why do you always have to play pranks like that, Naruto? Well, what can I say? It's the ancestors' teaching, you know. While Tatsuki was wondering why Naruto sounded like he was talking about a specific ancestor that wasn't even his own, Ichigo tried moving his spiritual power into the spiritual core and actually had some minor success with it. Seeing that, Naruto nodded in approval and resumed speaking. Very well, that's the first step. Now we are going for the next. So, kneel on the ground and spread those cheeks, boy, oh ow ow, mercy, mercy. Yet again, Tatsuki was pinching Naruto's waist, but this time there was a light blush on her face as she averted her eyes from the dumbfounded-looking Ichigo. So we did switch genre. Shut up, stupid fox. I'm just messing around. Suyuur. Anyway, jokes aside, sit down and close your eyes. You might now be able to feel your spiritual power, but you are far from controlling it properly. We don't have much time before r18 gets destroyed, so let's continue the training. Naturally, doubt filled Ichigo as he looked at Naruto with suspicion, causing him to chuckle in amusement. No need to look at me like that. Since Tatsuki is now closely watching, I won't be playing any more pranks. Realizing that that was likely the truth, Ichigo nodded his head and sat down while Naruto sat down behind him and put his hand on Ichigo's back. I'll now inject a sliver of my spiritual power into you. Your goal is to capture it with your own and remove it from your body. Although it's not a real battle, conflicts like this are the best way to learn something new when there is time pressure. I think this should be the most efficient method for you to get the necessary control over your spiritual power to use the spiritual orb. While Ichigo nodded in understanding, and Tatsuki looked at everything with interest, a small smirk appeared on Naruto's face while he started injecting spiritual power into Ichigo. Okay, I'm putting it in. Don't say it like that. Naruto couldn't help but chuckle in amusement due to Ichigo's outburst while briefly glancing at Tatsuki, who was currently sighing deeply while facepalming. Clearly, she was contemplating how awesomely mature her boyfriend was. Chapter 35, More intruders enter r18. Yuna was currently lazying around in a lounge chair carefully hidden on one of r18's rooftops, sipping a cold drink while spectating what was going on in the Kukaki clan compound. The massive ice phallus she planted there was currently surrounded by a massive amount of blade-like sakura tree petals. Unfortunately, none of them could leave even a scratch on it. If it were Swafon's Bankai, there would be a good chance to actually destroy this ice construct, as it wasn't as dense as Yuna's statue. However, unlike Swafon, whose Bankai is a single highly powered attack, Byakuya's millions of small attacks couldn't do any damage. Anyway, in front of her was a pink wiggling mass firmly wrapped around a giant penis. She didn't even need to do anything to make this look lewd. So obviously, she did some more to make sure no one missed what was happening. Suddenly, without any warning, pure white snow erupted out of the ice statue's tip, resulting in it slowly falling down all over the compound. Or that was at least what would have happened if an unknown Kido spell hadn't blasted all of it away. Oh, someone is getting a little angry, huh? What a surprise. Oh well, that guy looks like a high-strung noble, so I can't bring myself to pity him. Gahaha, giant penis. While the trio was chatting with each other, the giant ice penis started shrinking. However, as the sakura petals continued winding around it, it quickly started growing again and was back to its original size within seconds. As if I would go limp from a single shot. I can keep it hard for days. Sigh. Gahaha. As the trio continued chatting and watching the spectacle, Yuna raised her head and looked skyward, where she saw a huge light sphere approaching the barrier protecting r18 at high speed. Whistle, that's quite the flashy way of entry. Didn't I provide a good way to enter the city for them? Why are they doing something so flashy? Well, I guess it's cooler like this. Moments later, the sphere collided with r18's barrier, causing it to wobble dangerously, but as the sphere started slowly pushing through the barrier, it started to destabilize, causing Yuna to frown. She focused her sense on the sphere and immediately noticed that it was composed of the spiritual power of multiple people mixed together evenly. However, occasionally one of the spiritual powers would spike, messing with the sphere's stability. However, suddenly the sphere's flow of spiritual power was heavily influenced. Clearly, something else had gone wrong. Then, all the other spiritual powers were pushed out of the sphere and were replaced with a single very powerful one. This would undoubtedly destroy the sphere, but this move would at least allow it to safely pass through r18's barrier, leaving the most dangerous hurdle behind. And, as expected, the sphere broke a few seconds after passing through the barrier and hurled its inhabitants away with a somewhat strong explosion. Yuna's eyes scanned everyone present and immediately noticed a new addition to Naruto's group. However, the moment Yuna noticed that it was a burly man, her eyes instantly ricocheted away from him and landed on Yoriuki instead. should I get myself a nice pussy? As these thoughts passed her mind, she could feel a spike of spiritual pressure as her eyes landed on the Kokaki clan compound, where the sakura petals were gone and replaced with a realm filled with swords. I can get her any time I want, but this crystallized wrath of a noble whose pride has been stepped on is something that tastes the most delicious when the wrath is still fresh. Delicious. Sigh, it pains me to say that I actually agree. Too bad that is no Uchiha clan to interact with. Gahaha, bullying. Remember, chaos, you can't bully the weak, only the arrogant. New N0vel chapters are published on N0v/e/lbin/co/m. Okay, ga. Meanwhile, a few hours earlier back with Naruto's group. By now, everyone had learned how to use the spiritual core, with Ichigo being the slowest, so the group found themselves inside the massive cannon, ready to be shot at r18. At first, everything went well as the sphere was safely launched into the sky, and despite Ichigo occasionally putting too much power into the spiritual core, things still went decently well. Unfortunately, as everyone was telling Ichigo to tone it down, Ganju had to read an incantation, resulting in him messing up and reading a line twice, resulting in the sphere destabilizing. Seeing that things might get dangerous due to the sphere still being trapped within r18's barrier, Naruto decided to act, flaring his spiritual power and pushing everyone else's power out of the core, resulting in it temporarily stabilizing again before breaking apart due to the one reading the incantation no longer being connected with the sphere, messing up the launch and flight process. Orium, shield. Sato, brace. Ishida to Orium. Ichigo, Ganju, good luck. Oi, what the hell? Obviously, Naruto didn't randomly take action and knew what was about to happen, so as soon as he gave his orders, Orium conjured her shield, and Ishida, who was sitting next to her, hid behind it as well. Sato simply crossed his arms in front of his head while making himself as small as possible and activating his right arm's power, making it tougher. He was a tough guy who could even tank a steel beam falling on him with ease, so Naruto wasn't worried about him. As for Ichigo and Ganju, they would probably be fine. Both of them were muscle heads with quite tough bodies as well, so they would probably fine as well. As for Yoriyuki, he wasn't worried about her as the moment she realized what had happened, she had already dashed away with a ridiculously fast flash step. Finally, there was Tatsuki, causing Naruto to grin as he swiftly picked her up in a princess carry, earning him a cute blush and a pinch to the waist, making him laugh. Ha ha ha, you can complain as much as you want after we land. As soon as Naruto finished speaking, the spiritual core started glowing and exploded moments later. A wind barrier immediately appeared between the explosion and Naruto, who was carrying Tatsuki, resulting in them getting pushed away without incurring any damage. As he was controlling the wind around him to allow him to drift slowly to the ground, he quickly glanced at everyone else and nodded his head in approval, as everyone seemed to be fine. Unfortunately, the explosion pushed everyone away from their initial position, resulting in them getting separated into multiple groups, causing Naruto to frown. However, in the end, he decided he wouldn't mind. After all, this arrangement would allow him to have a date with his girlfriend behind enemy lines. How exciting! Meanwhile, deep within r18, absolute silence covered the 11th Division compound, which was only broken by the sound of a single person swinging around a sword. While that person was methodically moving around with complex steps, everyone else in the 11th Division who was present could only look at the person swinging the sword in utter confusion and bewilderment. After watching for a few more minutes, one of the spectators had enough and stepped forward. He was a bald man with a thug-like face, Ikeku Madarame, the 11th Division's third seat. See Captain Kenpeki, why did you suddenly start training? That's right, the person swinging his blade around was none other than Zaraki Kenpeki. He had never properly trained before, as he felt like that would make him too strong to enjoy combat properly, but now things were different. I've finally awoken from my dream of fake fun fights. Now that I know what true battle is, I need to get stronger. Frankly, Kenpeki wasn't a smart man. He never was, and he never will be. He himself was fully aware of that and couldn't care less. However, when it came to battle, he had at least a little smartness to him. After fighting Yuna, he realized one very important aspect of that fight. Yuna was young, very young. There was no doubt that her body was far away from her prime and that she would only grow stronger. I won't fall behind. While she grows stronger due to getting closer to her prime, I'll get stronger by training for the first time in my life. I want to win. No, who cares about that? I just want another battle where both of us can enjoy the thrill of a real battle. I will not allow her to leave me behind. Next time we fight, we will yet again fight as equals. While Kenpeki was deep in thought, Ikeku could only look at him in bewilderment after receiving such a cryptic answer. He pondered what he had just heard a while longer before simply giving up and asking his next question. Captain, it appears that you are training to use a variety of different techniques. Since when do you care about stuff like that? True. Zaraki Kenpeki never bothered using techniques. He swung his sword with one hand with seemingly no goals in mind except for cutting his opponent. But now, he was going through complex motions of footwork and sword swing, almost making it look like he was dancing if it weren't for the aura of death surrounding him. How could I possibly match that if I restrict myself? I need to use everything I can to yet again enjoy a true battle. During his fight with Yuna, Kenpeki slowly started using different kinds of combat techniques without even noticing himself. Now that he was fully conscious and thought about his fight with Yuna, he still vaguely remembered the way he moved, resulting in him trying to master what he assumed he had copied from Yuna. I always felt using stuff like kendo was lame, but this is different. These techniques make me stronger. I'll use everything I can to grow stronger and stronger. I was always reluctant to grow stronger since that would mean there were fewer people I could enjoy fighting with, but now things are different. At my full strength, using everything I had, I was defeated. How could I possibly continue idling about when there is someone stronger than me out there? I'm already excited about our next fight. While Ikeko still had no clue what was going on, Kenpeka continued moving around the training hall while swinging his sword with a ferocious smile. The first time he did so, he destroyed quite a few buildings, forgetting just how strong he was now. To counter that problem, he added another 2 seals to his body, resulting in him now wearing an armband on each of his arms, allowing him to swing his sword without destroying everything. Anyway, seeing Kenpeka's smile, Ikeko decided to simply drop this matter. Although his captain had calmed down quite a bit since he joined the r18, he would rather not wake a sleeping lion. Or rather, it seems like someone had already done so, so he would rather not become collateral damage to someone else's actions. Might as well patrol the city. I hope I can fight an intruder or two. It's been a while since something interesting like this happened, after all. Meanwhile, a few minutes earlier, in the highest building in Siriti, an old man with a bald head and a long white beard was overlooking Siriti with a frown on his face. This man was Genryusai Shijikuni Yamamoto, the captain commander of the r18 and the captain of the 1st Division. Currently, his gaze rested on the Kukaki clan compound while his eyebrows twitched in a combination of irritation, bewilderment, and a hint of amusement. Or rather, he was looking at the massive ice monument growing out of it. He considered just going there and burning that thing down, but he decided not to do so. After all, was he the Kukaki clan's maid? Why would he go over there and clean up their compound for them? Obviously, if something dangerous was going on that could damage Siriti, he would make a move, but the only thing this thing seemed to damage was the Kukaki clan's pride, which was a good thing, in his opinion. As he was pondering, white snow erupted out of the giant ice penis, causing the old man to chuckle lightly. Well, I don't know who the intruder is, but they sure know how to break someone's pride. Oh well, if the Kukaki clan asks for my help, I guess I'll help them. While thinking about the unknown intruder, Genryusai couldn't help but frown. There was basically no information about them. Hell, not even the intruder's gender was known as far as he knew. Seriously, what is going on? A lieutenant and a captain are missing, and there are no reports at all. No sightings, no further incidents, nothing. Something fishy is going on. Funnily enough, the only 2 people in Siriti that didn't know about the cake incidents were Genryusai and his lieutenant. After all, who would want to report to the captain commander that their divisions are getting bullied with cake pranks? None of them wanted to get scolded for not securing their division properly. Obviously, Genryusai's own division was attacked as well, but the 1st division was considered to be filled with elite troops, so neither of them was willing to make a report either, their pride getting in the way of doing so. As Genryusai's gaze continued wandering over Siriti as if that could somehow grant him knowledge about the intruder's whereabouts, his head snapped upwards while squinting his eyes. It was rather far away from him, but he noticed that something had just penetrated the barrier surrounding Siriti. More intruders? They really treat Siriti like an amusement park. However, this time we surely will be able to capture a few people to find out what is going on. Although we can't be sure yet that the 1st and 2nd waves belong to the same group, my guts are telling me they are. Besides, 2 groups of people intruding on Siriti within a week is too much of a coincidence if they weren't from the same group. As soon as he finished that thought, he called his lieutenant to give out an order to the other divisions. If an intruder is found, they are to be captured if it wasn't too much of a risk. They needed information about the 1st group, especially how they could navigate Siriti without being detected. At the same time, a leisurely mood reigned inside the hidden cave underneath Siriti as Hinata, Retsu, and Ranjiko were relaxing in a fully furnished house entirely made out of ice. Although it goes contrary to common sense, the ice building was made out of was actually not cold, allowing comfortable room temperature. Well, Yuna was never someone who bothered with common sense. As for the furniture, that clearly wasn't made out of ice. Well, let's just say the people of Siriti were generous and donated it. Anyway, a half-naked Ranjiko was currently lying belly first on a massage table while Hinata stood next to her, her hand carefully wandering over Ranjiko's calves, occasionally squeezing them. Additionally, Retsu was standing not too far away, watching Hinata's massage technique with some curiosity. As a healer, she could tell that Hinata's massage had quite a positive effect on Ranjiko, relaxing and refreshing her. You are really good at this, Hinata. Hinata hummed in acknowledgement as her hands wandered toward Ranjiko's thighs. If you truly want to go to heaven, then you should ask Yuna for a massage as well. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Retsu briefly pondered whether she should do the same, but seeing Hinata currently smiling with a tint of evil on her face, she decided to see what would happen first. Anyway, Hinata, don't you have too much stamina? How the hell can you continue to swing your hips like that while I can't even move a finger anymore and then not wake up with some muscle aches? If it were the young Hinata from her first life, she would have blushed furiously after hearing such a question, but now she only rolled her eyes while continuing the massage. Over the long years with Yuna, I have gotten used to it. When you do something a lot, you'll someday learn how to do it more efficiently. Rangiku hummed in acknowledgement, despite already having predicted such an answer. Frankly, she was hoping that there was some kind of secret method, but as expected, there was none. So, anyway, you're into spanking, aren't you? Hinata's hands briefly paused as a slight blush crept up her face, but a short moment later, she continued the massage. What makes you ask that question? Well, I mean, yesterday evening, you and Yuna. That's not what I meant. Before Rangiku could say too much, Hinata interrupted her, claiming that Rangiku misunderstood her. I mean, why are you suddenly asking a question like that? Oh, well, we'll probably spend a lot of time together, so I was curious about what you are into. As Hinata briefly nodded her head, she thought for a moment whether she should answer that question, and after deciding that it wouldn't cause any harm, she opened her mouth. Technically, it's not the spanking I'm into. I just like to get dominated, so spanking is just a part of it. While Hinata was trying to contain her blush due to saying something like that out loud, Rangiku nodded her head in understanding before speaking as well. Honestly, I'm not even sure what I'm into. I've already told this to Yuna, but the people in r18 are all super prudent, so I didn't really have a chance to try things out. As soon as Rangiku stopped speaking, a hand landed on her butt, resulting in a loud smack, a shout of surprise, and a light pink handprint of Hinata's right hand left behind on Rangiku's butt. Well, you liked that. Hearing Hinata's teasing words, Rangiku glared at her before giggling in amusement. Although the sting surprised me, it's a very unusual feeling. I honestly can't tell whether I liked it or not. Anyway, people sure restrain less around Yuna, aren't they? Hinata had to giggle as well before shrugging her shoulder. They are. Anyway, since you aren't sure yet, we can only continue experimenting. As she finished speaking, she raised her hand and was just about to deliver another playful slap when the door opened, revealing Yuna watching the current scene in curiosity. Yuna scanned the room with her eyes, and seeing the pink handprint on Rangiku's butt, a smirk appeared on her face. Before anyone else could react, Yuna pointed at Hinata and started speaking. You are bullying Rangiku, I guess I need to punish you. Hearing the righteousness in Yuna's voice, Hinata could only shake her while sighing deeply. However, before she could comment any further, Yuna had already tossed her over her should and delivered a firm swat to her bottom. Sigh, I really walked into this, didn't I? You sure did. Although Hinata seemed to have resigned to her face with reluctance, a quick sniff of the air immediately told Yuna that Hinata was already getting excited. Before leaving the room with Hinata in tow, she turned around and looked at Retsu and Rangiku. Well, what are you waiting for? Don't you want to watch Hinata getting spanked? Frankly, both of them were curious about what kind of play this would lead to, but neither of them was sure what Hinata wanted to do. However, those doubts quickly disappeared as they met Hinata's eyes, almost causing them to take a step back. There was a lot of heat in those eyes, making Hinata's desires very clear. So, both of them quickly made a decision. I'm coming? Yes, I'm coming as well. And no, it's embarrassing. Hush, you are getting punished. As Yuna delivered another smack to Hinata's bottom, a loud moan escaped Hinata's mouth, making her desires rather clear. Retsu and Rangiku briefly shared a glance before nodding their heads while having the same thought at the same time. After all, Hinata likes to get bullied. Chapter 36, Yoriyuki's Demise. Ikeiku couldn't believe how lucky he was. The intruders had been rampaging all over the city for over a week, and no one saw even a glimpse of them. However, while randomly walking through r18 with his friend Yumichika Ayasukawa, two intruders actually fell from the sky right in front of him. The two intruders, Ichigo and Ganju, currently tried to dig themselves out of a sand pit that Ganju had created to help the duo with their landing using strange magic. As soon as the duo noticed Ikeiku, they started whispering to each other. While Ganju wanted to run away, Ichigo wanted to fight, and moments later, Ganju ran away, leaving Ichigo behind. Seeing that one of the opponents was running away, Yumichika clicked his tongue and quickly ran after him, leaving Ichigo and Ikeiku behind to have a one-on-one fight. The fight started out rather equal, but after Ikeiku used his Shigei to turn his Zanpakuto into a three-section spear, resulting in Ichigo having trouble reading its trajectory. Unfortunately for Ikeiku, Ichigo had much more raw power than him, and after a short while of back and forth, Ichigo simply sliced through Ikeiku's weapon while leaving a huge gash on his torso, consequently knocking him out. Ichigo briefly pondered his next step, and after realizing that he pretty much had no idea about r18, he decided to wait for Ikeiku to regain consciousness, so he got ask him a few questions. Meanwhile, Ishida and Orium landed safely due to Orium's shield and took a somewhat different approach to gathering information, as they simply knocked out two Shinigami and put on their clothes, making it easier to navigate the city. Sato, on the other hand, blasted the ground he was about to land on with one of his energy attacks, resulting in the knockback reducing his fall speed, while the softened ground made the landing less hard. He took a rather interesting approach to moving around the city as well. He was simply knocking everyone out that spotted him. Naruto and Tatsuki had an easy landing as well, since Naruto could simply use his wind to slow down their fall, resulting in them lightly floating to the ground. Just like Sato, the duo took the approach of defeating everyone they met. However, the only one who was fighting was Tatsuki, as Naruto was leisurely strolling behind her with his hands in his pockets while whistling a little tune. Well, not exactly the date I was looking for, but this is fine as well. Initially, he wanted to sneak around the city with Tatsuki and see if he could find any cool places, but Tatsuki insisted that she wanted to fight, so he just let her do what she wanted. Worst case scenario, he would just grab her and disappear as fast as the wind. And finally, there was Yoriyuki. As a skilled Shinigami, she could easily fly, so she didn't even bother waiting to land and immediately disappeared, making her way over Siriti's rooftops. First, she decided to scout the city to gather some information. After all, she hadn't been here for a long time. Then, she would go to the center of the snow-covered area. I wonder if our secret training facility is still there? That place would be a good place to use as our headquarters. Now that I take a closer look at it, isn't that snowing area pretty much perfectly arranged around the secret entrance? Why would that be the center of it? She scouted the city for a few hours, gathering rumors about what was currently going on, causing her to sigh deeply. Seriously, a captain and a lieutenant are missing. What the hell is Yuna doing? Has she forgotten why we came here? A while later, Yoriyuki sighed in relief as she spotted the hidden runes that were used to open the entrance to the secret training facility, and after putting a bit of spiritual pressure inside, the door opened, causing her to smile lightly. She quickly made her way down the stairs, and after walking for a short moment, she reached the hidden cave, utterly dumbfounding her. What the hell happened here? Unlike how it previously looked, she was welcomed by a winter wonderland as everything was covered in snow while snow continued to fall gently from the sky. One part of the cave seemed to have been utterly obliterated as debris littered the ground, while there was even a small house that looked like it was made out of ice in the distance. No, seriously, what happened here? Era? What do we have here? Suddenly, Yoriyuki's body froze as incredibly dense spiritual pressure crashed into her body, almost making her feel like someone was pressing a blade to her throat. I somewhat doubt a regular cat could open the secret door, so who are you? Yoriyuki stiffly moved her head to see who had suddenly appeared directly behind her, and as soon as she saw who it was, she almost fainted. I'm so F***ed. Behind her stood Retsuo Anohana, wearing a calm disarming smile that seemed almost motherly, but despite that, Yoriyuki was terrified out of her mind. That kind smile of hers contained nothing but concentrated death. Although Yoriyuki didn't belong to the oldest generation of Shinigami in Siriti, she wasn't a youngster either, so she had at least heard about Anohana's true self, so she would rather not mess with her. If it's pure speed, I might have a chance, but I don't think I can beat her in anything else. The moment I make a wrong move, she'll attack, and I'm not even in my human form. Transforming back takes about 2 seconds, which is more than enough for her to cut me down multiple times. Shit, I really messed up. Why is she here? Wasn't she supposed to be missing? I still haven't heard an answer yet. Or maybe, you can't talk. Hearing Anohana's words, Yoriyuki briefly pondered whether she should simply pretend to be a normal cat before immediately dismissing the idea and slumping down. I'm Yoriyuki Shihoin. I was part of the people who built this underground hideout and wanted to check if it was still here. Oh, Shihoin? As in the Captain Shihoin that fled Siriti a long time ago. Yoriyuki simply nodded her head as a deep sigh escaped her mouth before Anohana continued talking. Since when have you been back in Siriti? For about 5 minutes. As soon as Yoriyuki answered, a small smile appeared on Anohana's face as she chuckled in amusement. Oh my, I thought black cats are supposed to bring others bad luck and not have bad luck themselves. Yoriyuki's chin hit the ground the moment Anohana stopped talking. She had never heard her make a joke. Seriously? Since when does she joke around? Isn't she supposed to be a no-nonsense person? Well, it's been a long time since I've met her, so maybe she changed a little over the course of the last few hundred years. Please don't mention that to anyone. I might not be part of Siriti anymore, but I'm at least still known as Flash Step Yoriyuki. That nickname will be laughed at if someone finds out I was caught 5 minutes after infiltrating the city. Although Anohana couldn't help but chuckle a little due to Yoriyuki's words, she still didn't let her guard down, and Yoriyuki was fully aware of that. Both of them knew that as soon as Anohana showed an opening, Yoriyuki would be gone. Anyway, your ruined name aside, why are you here? What do you plan to do? Ugh, could you rein that spiritual pressure in? I'm having trouble breathing. Anyway, I don't plan to do anything to the people of Siriti, I'm only here to rescue Rukia. As soon as Yoriyuki mentioned saving Rukia, the spiritual pressure Anohana was radiating vanished instantly. It was so abruptly that Yoriyuki didn't even react to Anohana sheathing her sword and walking past her. Just when Yoriyuki regained her senses and realized that this would be the perfect opportunity to flee, Anohana continued talking, making her stop in her tracks. Oh, so you are with Yuna? You should have said that earlier so we could have saved ourselves from this back and forth. Come, follow me. What's going on? However, Anohana didn't react at all and simply walked away, leaving Yoriyuki behind. Is this a trap? No, if she wanted to get rid of me, she would have just attacked me earlier. Now is the perfect opportunity to run away. However, I can't help but be a little worried as well. How does she know about Yuna? Did she capture her? But why would she hang out in here and not at her division? What is going on? As Yoriyuki's thoughts were going haywire, Anohana turned around and tilted her head in confusion. What's wrong? Aren't you coming? Although Yuna is currently not here, Hinata is. Since she is part of your group, you should know her, right? Hinata is here as well. She knows the names of Yuna and Hinata, and it doesn't feel like she is hostile to these two. Should I just follow her? She mulled over what to do a few seconds longer before she sighed deeply while shrugging her shoulders. That damn Yuna, can't she do anything normally? Why does it always have to be chaotic as soon as she gets involved? How the hell did she manage to get on friendly terms with one of r18's captains? Moments later, Yoriyuki had caught up with Anohana and couldn't help but look at her with curiosity. Is there something you would like to ask? Yoriyuki nodded her head, not expecting Anohana to be open to answering questions, but since she seemed to be willing, Yoriyuki naturally would take the opportunity. What exactly is your relationship with Yuna and Hinata? MHH. Well, I joined Yuna's harem. The moment those words left Anohana's mouth, Yoriyuki tripped, resulting in her head getting burrowed in the snow. She stayed like that for a few seconds before abruptly raising her head and staring at Anohana with high intensity. See, could you please repeat that? I joined Yuna's harem. Ah, I see. Yoriyuki got quiet as thousands of thoughts swirled through her head, coming with all kinds of scenarios, not only about how Anohana had suddenly joined Yuna's harem but about possible misunderstanding or even that Anohana was trying to prank her. Finally, as these thousand thoughts converged into a single point, resulting in Yoriyuki opened her mouth and resumed speaking. What the f***ck? Seeing the utter bewilderment and confusion on Yoriyuki's face, Anohana couldn't help but chuckle in amusement as she continued walking toward the ice house Yuna had made. Yeah, I heard that's more or less a standard reaction. While Yoriyuki was still in a daze, Anohana reached the house and opened the door, closely followed by Yoriyuki, who looked a little like her soul had left her body. After removing her boots, Anohana continued walking and opened the door to the living room, revealing Hinata and Rangiku playing cards. However, while Hinata was fully clothed, Rangiku only wore her bra and panties and was otherwise completely naked. Currently, she was glaring harshly at Hinata. This time, I got you, Hinata. Four of a kind. There is no way you can top that. However, hearing Rangiku's words as she revealed her hand, showing off 4 kings and a random ace of spades, a smirk appeared on Hinata's face, revealing her own hand, causing Rangiku's eyes to pop. Get the L test VLS at .o/v/e/l/by.co. Straight royal flush? Again? You are cheating. You are definitely cheating. While Rangiku was angrily pointing her finger at Hinata, Hinata only chuckled in amusement while shrugging her shoulders. Ma, you say that, but where is your proof? Do you want to do another body search? Anyway, as long as you can't back up your empty claim, give me that bra. Rangiku gave her a seething glare, but she nevertheless removed her bra and handed it over to Hinata, making her smirk. I hope you remember that the first to get naked will get a spanking from the winner. Don't worry, I won't bully you too much. Aren't you the one who likes getting bullied? Well, I occasionally enjoy doing the bullying as well. Yet again, Yoriyuki's chin hit the ground as she realized that Hinata was currently playing strip poker with the supposedly missing lieutenant, almost causing her to cry in frustration. What the hell is going on? Why is this situation so messy? Why are the missing captain and lieutenant lazing around in Kisuk and my secret training ground? Why are Yuna and Hinata here with them? Why the f***ck is Hinata playing strip poker with a supposed enemy, while another enemy only smiled wryly seeing that scene? Again, what the f***ck? Rangiku was just about to shuffle the cards for the 5th time in an attempt to stop Hinata from cheating when she and Hinata realized that someone had entered the room. As soon as Hinata saw Yoriyuki, she frowned deeply. So it's you, huh? Since you are here, I guess you have decided to join Yuna's harem. Although I'm not happy, welcome anyway. While Yoriyuki was bewildered by that weird leap of logic, Rangiku couldn't help but glare at Yoriyuki, and after pondering her words for a moment, she started speaking as well. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind trying out weird stuff, but involving a cat in our nightlife is a little too much for me. Hinata couldn't help but chuckle in amusement when she saw Rangiku's somewhat disgusted look before pointing at Yoriyuki. No need to worry, that's some really nice pussy. Hearing Hinata's words, Rangiku's frown deepened even further as she continued glaring at Yoriyuki. No matter how I look at it, that's too much. I will not involve a cat in sexual activities. That's just too weird. However, before Rangiku could say anything else, Yoriyuki rolled her eyes as her body started glowing wide. Could we stop bothering with this misunderstanding in favor of someone telling me what is going on? As soon as she finished speaking, the cat was gone and was instead replaced with a brown-skinned naked beauty, making Rangiku gape. That is a very nice pussy. Told ya. Yoriyuki rolled her eyes yet again at the duo's short interaction as her gaze fell on Hinata. What is going on here? Why is Lieutenant Matsumoto here? Why is Captain Anohana here? Why are you here? How did Yuna even find this place? Why is it snowing? What's with this house? Why aren't you enemies? Why the hell are you playing strip poker? Hearing that barrage of questions, Hinata lightly raised her hands, motioning Yoriyuki to stop speaking for a moment, which she complied with, allowing Hinata to answer her. Because Yuna joined the harem. Joined the harem. I'm part of the harem. Because Yuna. Yuna is harem. Why not? Hearing Hinata answer pretty much all her questions with "it's because of Yuna," Yoriyuki's eyebrows twitched in irritation. However, a weird sense of understanding washed over her, making her relax. I see, so it's because of Yuna. That doesn't make any sense, but it makes sense. Realizing that the whole situation was a little too absurd to be explained away with proper logic, Yoriyuki decided to just let it go. She had decided that there was no need to fuss over stuff this ridiculous. That would only make her go crazy. Fine, whatever. However, what about rescuing Rukia? Hinata couldn't help but raise her eyebrows when she heard Yoriyuki asking about Rukia. Well, tell me about it. I'm not really sure about the details, but doesn't Kisuke want her to get rescued by Ichigo? I'm not really sure what kind of plans you two are cooking up, and I don't care too much, either. However, if you want to rescue Rukia, I don't mind going over there and getting her out. I'll be back before dinner. Yoriyuki couldn't help but stiffen a little as Hinata's deep blue eyes seemed to pierce into her soul. Frankly, the only reason she asked about Rukia was to make sure that she wasn't safe yet before Ichigo had a single proper fight. He needed to grow stronger. Much stronger. And the best way for him to do so was to dangle bait in front of him and allow him to fight powerful opponents while under constant pressure. However, Yoriyuki really wondered how Hinata knew about their plan. She knew that Kisuke had told them a little, but how the hell did Hinata know about pretty much everything? Where did that information come from? It's Yuna again, isn't it? Where in the world did she conjure so much information from? This is just ridiculous. Seeing Yoriyuki deep in thought as Anohana brought some freshly made tea into the room, Hinata filled up her cup while chuckling in amusement. Well, how about getting some clothes before joining us for a few rounds of strip poker, so I can remove the clothes you had just put on? As soon as Hinata finished speaking, Yoriyuki's face deadpanned at her. She couldn't believe that Hinata was seriously inviting her to play games while this whole invasion business was going on. By the way, where is Yuna? No clue, probably somewhere in Siriti, causing trouble, breaking minds. You know, the usual. Be breaking minds. Ma, don't worry about it. Yoriyuki was worrying about that. However, seeing that she was the only one in the room who seemed to be concerned about what Hinata had just said, the last straw finally broke. She gave up. You know what? Deal the cards, I'm in. Seeing a naked Yoriyuki sitting down on the table, Hinata rolled her eyes at her. Oi, get clothed first? What are you going to bet if you have no clothes on you? Sexual favors. Pa, sell those to Yuna, not me. Go get clothed while I finish off Ranjiko and give her her punishment for losing. Then we can start a new round. Seeing the chaos going on in front of her, Retsu could only smile wryly. Since meeting Yuna, her life had gotten quite hectic, but she couldn't deny that she was having quite a lot of fun, so everything wasn't too bad. Oh well, guess I'll join in as well. Oh, that's the spirit, Retsu. Chapter 37, Fights all over Siriti. A few hours passed, and Naruto was currently sitting on the edge of one of Siriti's buildings, whistling a little song while happily dangling his legs in the air. Despite looking relaxed, Naruto was ready to spring into action at any moment since below him on the street, Tatsuki was surrounded by Shinigami, which she constantly sent flying with her lava-covered hands. While he was spectating, a blade suddenly appeared next to his neck, which he seemingly didn't even notice, and a moment later, a male voice reached Naruto's ears. You have quite a weird hobby. The girl down there is your comrade, right? Why aren't you helping her? She isn't just my comrade, she is my girlfriend. She wanted to train in fighting large groups of armed people, so I decided to let her have a go at it. Isn't her smile while she is fighting really cute? The man briefly glanced at Tatsuki and noticed the battle-thirsty grin on her face, causing his eyebrows to twitch. Cute, huh? Guess tastes differ. As the man was speaking, Naruto lightly turned his head, allowing him to see the person holding the blade. It was a young man with spiky black hair, sharp eyes, and the number 69 tattooed on his left cheek. Speaking of weird hobbies, I don't mind discussing my sexual preferences with others, but is tattooing them on your face not going a little too far? Naruto felt the blade on his neck twitch briefly, resulting in a small chuckle from him. Are you sure you are in a position to make fun of me? The only reason why your neck is still intact is that we were ordered to capture you alive if possible. Hearing the unknown man's words, Naruto chuckled in amusement while shrugging his shoulders. And the only reason your blade managed to get this close to my neck is that I permitted it to reach this far. The moment Naruto finished talking, the thumb and index finger of his left hand pinched the tip of the blade, causing the man to frown. Not really understanding what Naruto was doing, the man tried to move the blade to injure Naruto's hand, but to his surprise, the blade didn't move a single centimeter. Impossible? He can overpower me with just 2 fingers? Is this guy above a regular captain in strength? Cold sweat started flowing down the man's back as he realized that the man in front of him could probably kill him as easily as a fly. However, before the conversation could continue, Tatsuki landed next to Naruto with a satisfied smile on her face. Well, that was quite a decent workout. I feel like most of them had really good skills, but most of them felt pretty rusty. Hearing Tatsuki's words, Naruto hummed in acknowledgement while still pinching the tip of the blade. Since Siriti has been very stable for a long time now, I guess quite a few people started slacking off. Makes sense. By the way, who is your friend? Naruto couldn't help but chuckle a little when Tatsuki called the person holding a blade to his neck his friend, but he didn't comment any further while letting go of the blade and standing up. For a split second, the man wanted to cut Naruto's neck the moment Naruto let go of his blade, but the moment that thought appeared in his mind, he had a vision of his bloody corpse lying on the ground, resulting in even more cold sweat. We just met, and I didn't get his name yet. So, who are you? I'm Naruto, by the way. The man briefly considered fighting to the death, but after glancing at the aftermath of Tatsuki's battle, he immediately realized that most Shinigami down there had, at worst, a broken bone or two and that there were no causalities. He sighed deeply as he put away his sword, realizing that there was no point in charging to his death with zero chance of victory. If the invaders attacked r18, slaughtering everything that got in their way, he would sacrifice his life without a single second of hesitation, but the people in front of him clearly had no intentions of doing that kind of damage. I'm Shuhei Hisagi, Lieutenant of the 9th Division. I know I'm not your match, and I'm willing to just let you go since I can't stop you anyway, but I won't give you any information about r18, no matter what you do. Naruto nodded in understanding as he briefly glanced at Tatsuki, causing him to smirk mischievously. Well, that's fine, but how about a little bet? A bet. Obviously, Shuhei was a little confused by Naruto's words but continued listening with a little bit of curiosity in his eyes. So far, pretty much nothing was known about the invaders, so the chance to possibly get some information was something he would like to have. Yes, a bet. You fight Tatsuki in a one-on-one battle and if you win I'll answer 3 of your questions truthfully, and if Tatsuki wins, MHH. How about you tell us Rukia's location? As soon as Naruto finished speaking, he glanced at Tatsuki, resulting in her nodding at him. She didn't mind fighting again, and she was satisfied with the reward as well. Meanwhile, in another part of r18, Ikeko was lazing around on a hospital bed in a grumpy mood. In his opinion, he was already fully healed, but those damn healers just won't let him go. Stupid healers. Why are they running around all day looking meek, but the moment I'm in their care, they are like demons. Of course, Ikeko had heard about Captain Anohana's patented kind smile that sent shivers of terror even through most captains' spines, but how come the other healers could smile like that as well? Moments later, Captain Kurosaki entered the room, wearing his usual golden ornaments, weird hat, and makeup to make his skin white. If it isn't third seat Madarame, I heard you fought an intruder. What did they look like? Ikeko couldn't help but frown when he heard Mayuri's question. For some reason, he felt like he had some form of grudge against the intruders, which Ikeko found weird, as he didn't believe Mayuri had encountered them before. Nevertheless, he noticed that the person he fought, Ichigo, had a lot of hidden potentials, so he might even put up a fight against his captain. In the end, he decided to don't give Mayuri any information. After all, they were in different divisions, so he didn't have to take orders from him. No idea. I didn't hear their names, nor did I talk with them. In fact, I can't even remember what they looked like. Obviously, Mayuri was angry that Ikeko clearly didn't want to give him any information, causing him to raise his hand for an attack. However, before anything could happen, another hand grabbed Mayuri, making him frown. I don't think you have any jurisdiction about the people in my division, so get lost already. Hearing not an ounce of politeness in the voice that had just talked to him, Mayuri really wanted to lash out but didn't do so. Zaraki Kenpake, the man who had just stopped his hand, went to his research institute to request, demand another 2 seals that ate away at his spiritual power endlessly. Usually, Mayuri couldn't give a shit what others requested, but this one was actually to his liking. After all, he assumed that the moment Kenpake put on another 2 seals, he would die from getting all his spiritual power sucked out of his, permanently getting rid of an annoying muscle head. However, Kenpake wasn't fazed in the slightest from having 3 seals on his body and still gave off a powerful feeling, dumbfounding Mayuri. After all, if he were to do the same, he would die within seconds. So, he decided to stay away from Kenpake for now until he came up with a method to defeat him. Well, he wouldn't actually try to defeat him, but Mayuri hated not being prepared for every possibility. Anyway, Mayuri pulled his hand away from Kenpake and scoffed in disdain before leaving the room. Anyway, I'll read about it in your report. Kenpake, who had not written a single report since becoming a captain, completely ignored Mayuri's words, making him even angrier before speaking to Ikeko the moment Mayuri was gone. Well, how was the intruder? Unlike with Mayuri, the moment Ikeko heard his captain's question, he started speaking instantly. Strong, very strong. Additionally, my guts are telling me that he has the potential to grow much stronger. Maybe even stronger than you, Captain. The moment Ikeko finished talking, Kenpake's eyebrows rose in doubt. If it was before meeting Yuna, he might have believed Ikeko's words, but now, after his full power was unlocked, he doubted that there was another intruder that could match him. He didn't believe that all of them were Yuna-level threats. Nonetheless, Kenpake nodded his head in understanding. Since his subordinate pointed him at a potentially good fight, how could he simply dismiss that? However, before Kenpake could ask for a description of the intruder's appearance, a little girl popped up from behind his back, jumped at Ikeko, and gave him a drop kick to the head. Stupid Baldy, there is no way there is another one as strong as Yuna. Oh wow, Yuna. That's right. She is super strong and... Yes eyes, whatever. So, how does the person you fought look like? Before Yachiro could spill any secrets, Kenpake picked her up by the gruff of her neck, making her pout. His name is Kurosaki Ichigo, a young man with spiky orange hair and a huge blade on his back. Very well, let's see what he can do. If he is weak, I'll just play with him a little and treat it as a warm-up before training. While these thoughts crossed his mind, he left the compound with a smidgen of excitement in his eyes. Meanwhile, back with Naruto and Tatsuki and Shuhei had started fighting, magma-covered fists constantly clashing with a Zanpakuto. If it was close combat alone, Tatsuki actually was confident of winning the fight, but Shuhei wasn't so easy to defeat. He was a rather skilled Kido user, bringing Tatsuki trouble again and again due to not knowing anything about it. All she could do was dodge the plethora of different spells Shuhei used as well as she could, trusting in her reflexes. Upted chapters and Enfelben.com. The duo clashed yet again, resulting in both of them sliding backward and coming to a stop a few meters away from each other. Seeing that Shuhei's Zanpakuto was still in its sealed form, Tatsuki couldn't help but frown. Why aren't you using your Shikai? Are you looking down on me? When Shuhei heard Tatsuki's words, he frowned deeply while looking at his weapon. I don't like using it. I'm not fond of its form. Huh? Not fond of its form? I've heard that Zanpakuto are part of its user, so doesn't that translate to you being not happy about something about yourself? Obviously, Shuhei was aware of that as well but was not ready to admit it, so instead of thinking about it for too long, he resumed attacking, causing Tatsuki to shake her head. Since you're not willing to go all out, I might as well finish this. Since I've arrived here, I felt something about my power change, and now I'm finally aware of what exactly had changed. As soon as she finished speaking, the spiritual pressure she was radiating increased, resulting in her feet getting covered in lava as well, while the temperature grew even further. Seeing that, Naruto couldn't help but smile a little. Seems like there is a good chance that Tatsuki's power will end up being a full body armor. I'm looking forward to it. Shuhei, on the other hand, didn't have a good feeling about this. He already was in trouble due to Tatsuki having 2 weapons while he only had 1, but now that number has increased to 4. Despite that, he sighed deeply while reading his blade. If this were a life and death situation, he would have probably used his Shikai by now, but since it wasn't, he decided not to use it at all. Frankly, he feared accidentally killing Tatsuki, which would undoubtedly result in Naruto's wrath descending on Sirikite. So far, there were no causalities, but if Naruto were to rampage through Sirikite, Shuhei had no doubts that a lot of people would die. At the same time, in another part of Sirikite, a somewhat fated encounter took place as Renji Abarai met Ichigo, who defeated him the first time they met. However, this time Renji's strength wasn't sealed, so he was rather confident in capturing Ichigo. However, before the fight could even start, Renji pointed his Zanpakuto at Ichigo, anger clearly visible on his face. What the hell have your people been doing in Sirikite over the course of the last week? Aren't you here to rescue Rukia? Why are you terrorizing Sirikite's Shinigami while having seeming no interest in Rukia? Hearing Renji's questions, Ichigo could only awkwardly scratch his head while looking away from Renji. He didn't really know what he meant by terrorizing Sirikite's Shinigami, but considering he could still easily see the snow-covered area and the giant eye stick, it wasn't hard to guess that this wasn't everything Yuna had done. Well, sorry about that, but I have nothing to do with this. I'm not sure how she did this, but as far as I can tell, everything was done by Yuna. Obviously, Renji had expected that much. After all, Byakuya got cake thrown in his face the last time he encountered Yuna, so Renji didn't need to be a genius to connect the dots and link the mess within Sirikite to Yuna. However, that didn't mean he couldn't vent some of his anger on Ichigo, who was one of Yuna's companions. So what? I'll defeat and capture you here, and then I'll hunt her down as well, using you as bait. Let's see how funny she thinks her pranks are when she is strapped in for execution. That sounds like a delightful experience, but I think I'll have to decline. A shiver of utter terror ran through Renji's spine as a presence suddenly appeared directly behind him, resulting in him hastily unsheathing his blade and slashing at the presence. However, his weapon harmlessly passed through the air, wounding no one. Oh? How naughty to think you would try to put your long thing into me the moment you notice my presence. Renji hastily turned around to the source of the voice that was now a few meters away from him and immediately saw Yuna casually standing next to a stiff-faced Ichigo, playing with her hair while a smirk adorned her face. How did she sneak up on me like that? I didn't notice her presence only after she actually started speaking to me. If she had attacked, I might have actually died. F***ck. While Renji's mood soured, Ichigo could only look at Yuna in bewilderment. Unlike Renji, who only noticed Yuna suddenly appearing behind him, Ichigo saw everything that had happened. Although Yuna did appear behind Renji instantly, he didn't actually notice her until she spoke, giving her plenty of time to take out a pair of fake bunny ears to hold behind Renji's head, making it look like he was wearing them. Additionally, she moved twice, yet he couldn't see her move at all, as if she was teleporting around. No wonder she could rampage through the city for over a week. Her speed is ridiculous. Well, you want some help with this, Ichigo? I don't mind cleaning him up for you. Hearing Yuna's words, Ichigo and Renji instantly got out of their dazes, resulting in Renji preparing for a fight he likely couldn't win while Ichigo started thinking about the current situation. Considering how fast she is, she could probably defeat Renji instantly, but why did she ask me whether I want help or not? As these thoughts crossed his mind, he realized the most likely reason for her to act like this. I want to save Rukia, and to do so, I will very likely have to fight Byakuya. From what I've heard, Renji is Byakuya's lieutenant, so if I can't even defeat him by myself, how could I possibly save Rukia? Clearly, she wants me to fight by myself to overcome this obstacle. Meanwhile, Yuna's thoughts were a little different. There are no fun fights going on. Why is that idiot Shuhei not using his Shikai? Where is the fun in watching someone getting one-sidedly beaten up? Oh well, Ichigo against Renji should be decently entertaining as long as Ichigo doesn't wuss out. While Yuna was deep in thought, Ichigo managed to gain his resolve, determination burning in his eyes. There is no need for help. I'll win this by myself. Seeing the determination in Ichigo's eyes, Yuna nodded in approval. She was just about to give him a few approving words when her head snapped towards a certain direction where she could feel powerful spiritual pressure. Oh, that fight seems more interesting than this one. Guess I'll ditch these two and watch the other fight instead. Nice resolve, Ichigo. Just believe in yourself, and I'm sure you can win. Anyway, something rather important has just popped up, so I'll leave this to you. See ya. Before either Ichigo or Renji could react, Yuna simply vanished, dumbfounding the duo yet again. One moment she was here, and the next, she was suddenly gone. Neither of them could fathom how she was doing that. Meanwhile, Yuna couldn't help but smirk as she quickly moved toward the point where the strong spiritual pressure was coming from. Ishida, huh? I was not expecting him to pop up like this. This should be interesting. I wonder what kind of method he used to suddenly become this strong. How exciting. Chapter 38, Messing with Ishida. I swear on the pride of the Quincy. I will kill you. That declaration left Ishida's mouth as he broke a part of the glove he was wearing, resulting in his spiritual pressure spiking even further while simultaneously qualifying him to push the Quincy's technique to absorb spiritual power even further, making it possible to do so even to the surrounding structures. Seeing Ishida's current form, Yuna couldn't help but her chin in curiosity. She hadn't bothered much with the difference between Shinigami and Quincy, but now she couldn't help but get a little curious. Especially since Ishida was currently slowly disintegrating the nearby walls and turning them into his spiritual power. How interesting, he even turned his spiritual power into small strings and is using them to control his body. Not really sure why he is doing that, but I guess he was paralyzed before I arrived here. After she finished inspecting Ishida, her gaze landed on his opponent, Mayuri Kurotsuki, in all his white and golden weirdness. Feeling his spiritual power, Yuna lost interest in him rather quickly. Additionally, from what she had heard, he was more of a researcher rather than a fighter, stifling her interest in him even further. However, there was one aspect that she was rather curious about. Why the hell does he wear his sword sheath between his legs? Probably compensating for something. Ga small penis, ga ha ha ha. Now, Chaos, you need to be more supple with stuff like this, or people will accuse you of only making easy dick jokes. Oh, wise words. Unfortunately, they were spoken by you, resulting in them reeking of hypocrisies. What? My dick jokes are always supple. You literally erected a giant ice penis inside the city. How is that supple? Hee. Erect, ga ha ha ha. Sigh, I know it's a lost battle, but I'll never stop fighting. Meanwhile, Ishida's spiritual power has formed into a single wing of highly concentrated spiritual power, which quickly transformed into a shining energy arrow that Ishida knocked into his bow and shot at Mayuri. Although Mayuri was surprised by the power behind the shot, he still managed to lean his body back in time to dodge the attack. Unfortunately for him, Ishida had anticipated that he would dodge and had already moved above Mayuri, another arrow ready to be shot. A loud explosion occurred as Ishida's arrow pierced through Mayuri's shoulder and contacted the ground underneath him, resulting in Mayuri getting further wounded by the shockwave. Seeing that Mayuri was heavily wounded, Ishida prepared another arrow and knocked it into his bow. Apologize for what you have done, and I'll forgive you. If you don't, my next attack will be 3 times stronger. Hearing that Ishida was willing to forgive his opponent, Yuna could only shake her head. Pride of the Quincy, huh? Doesn't seem to be worth much. Why in the world does he suddenly back down? Well, it turns out killing a fellow person is not easy. Seriously? He's wussing out just like that. It's not a choice I would ever make, but I can respect choosing humanity over revenge. You can. Oh, don't get me wrong, I think it's a stupid choice, but I can at least understand why a youngster that had mostly been living peacefully would hesitate to kill someone. Although Ishida offered to let him go, how could Mayuri possibly accept such a humiliation? Rather than bowing down and apologizing, he would fight to the death. Don't get cocky, brat. Bankai. While Ishida wasn't sure what Bankai meant, Mayuri's sword started bloating and, after a few seconds, turned into a giant creature that looked like a centipede with a comically large human baby head that had a halo hovering above it. That is some bizarre-ass creature. Reminds me of that puppet thing you fought while we were forcefully transported into the past. Oh, you are right? Well, this thing seems to be organic, making it even more bizarre. However, I have to say the smell of its poison is pretty decent. So that habit finally surfaced again, huh? Well, what can I say? There simply were no good poisons around in the human world, and I'm too lazy to look for the proper herbs as well. It's not like I can order poisonous plants over the internet. Meanwhile, Ishida was baffled by the weird creature that suddenly appeared in front of him, but that didn't mean he would back down. While Mayuri's Bankai was charging him, Ishida concentrated most of his spiritual power into his arrow, making it glow intensely. The arrow was shot and hit the huge creature, easily piercing through like it was made of tofu and splitting it in half before hitting Mayuri's side, resulting in a massive hole getting pierced into his body. Seeing the bloody form of Mayuri, Yuna could only shake her head. Considering over half his body was missing, there were little doubts that he would die soon as long as he didn't have any more tricks up his sleeve. Unfortunately, he did. I won't accept this. Aren't you just a shitty Quincy? As soon as he finished yelling, he raised his sword and pierced it into his own neck, dumbfounding the spectators. However, instead of dying, his body started melting away, shocking Ishida. He wanted to shoot another arrow, but he knew that that was impossible. He was fully out of steam, and the side effects of using his special form were kicking in as well. Despite being completely liquid, Mayuri continued speaking. This isn't over yet, Quincy. I might not be able to attack in this form, but neither can I be attacked. I will retreat for now and heal my wounds. It might not have gone as I wanted, but the result of this battle is still the same. I'll fully recover, and you will die of my poison. Mayuri's liquid form was just about to slip away through a crack in the wall when ice suddenly started growing out of the ground, collecting Mayuri's liquid form and sealing it in a transparent ice ball. Well, will you look at this? Captain in a jar. Moments later, Yuna appeared next to the sealed Mayuri and picked him up with a cocky grin on her face. Unhand me right this instant. Yo, it's been a while, Ishida. Obviously, she completely ignored the screaming Mayuri and put her attention on Ishida instead, who by now was kneeling on the ground with a dumbfounded expression. Why Yuna? The one and only. Before Ishida could say anything else, he coughed up some blood before collapsing on the ground, causing Yuna to shake her head with a wry smile on her face. Guess before we can chat any further, I should heal you from that poison. Heal him? As if a imbecile like you could heal the poison I created. Geez, stop yelling, will you? Aren't you just a bottled up captain? What are you getting so cocky for? You better be quiet, or I turn this ice ball into a dildo and shove it into the hairiest ass I can find. That immediately made Mayuri quiet down. However, now that his rage was stifled a little, his thoughts became clearer, and he realized something else. Wait a moment. Did she just say ice? As those thoughts passed his head, he took a better look at Yuna's face and immediately realized what was going on. You look exactly like that damn statue. It's you, isn't it? You made that think. Oh my, so you have my statue. That was a present for Swa-Fon, so please give it back to her when you have the chance. As if she would take back that abomination. Frankly, Yuna's statue was haunting him in his dreams. He hated it when he didn't understand something. However, the statue made it even worse, as it seems to actively mock and prank him. Hell, just this morning, he woke up with a huge ice penis menacingly hovering over his head. Frankly, he was rather close to just dumping that thing in a random clan compound before fleeing the scene. The only thing that prevented him from doing so was his pride as a researcher. The statue was a mystery, and he wanted to solve that mystery. While Mayuri was lamenting his fate, Yuna walked to a person who hadn't said anything yet and was just silently observing what was going on. It was a mature woman with black hair and green eyes, Nimu Kurotsuki, Mayuri's lieutenant. She looked at the approaching Yuna with emotionless eyes. However, Yuna could easily tell that she was worried about her captain. Well, let's trade. Captain Ice Ball here for the poison's antidote. Nimu, don't give her the antidote. Before Mayuri could finish speaking, the ball he was trapped in changed form and turned into an ice penis, instantly shutting him up. Well, Captain Penis, for the antidote, what will you do? I accept. Good, the ice will melt in about an hour. Do you want to keep him in that form, or should I transform his container back into a ball? Although Nimue flushed a little when she heard Yuna's question, in the end, she requested to turn the ice back into a ball, and a few seconds later, Yuna had the antidote in hand and casually tossed it toward Ishida. Whoa, careful there. Although he managed to safely catch it, considering it was a liquid stored inside a glass container, tossing it like that immediately made Ishida antsy, causing Yuna to dismissively shrug her shoulders. Anyway, now that you won't be dying anytime soon, let's get you to a safe location, shall we? What? No, we need to save Rukia. Hearing Ishida's words, Yuna could only shake her head with disapproval. And what would you do when we get there and meet an enemy? Your spiritual power is currently fading away, and you soon won't be able to use it anymore. Can you even defeat a random grunt like that? How do you know about that? I just do, and now stop goofing around and follow me. What else could Ishida do but follow Yuna in this kind of situation? So, a few minutes later, in which they didn't meet a single enemy, surprising Ishida, they reached a familiar wall that quickly opened up, allowing Yuna and Ishida access. Where did this secret tunnel come from? Apparently, Yoryuki and Kisuk built this place in the past, and I managed to find it by referencing how the underground passage in Kisuk's house felt. Although Ishida couldn't help but be fascinated, he decided not to comment any further while looking forward to what would greet him at the end of the stairways, and moments later, he was greeted by a peaceful winter wonderland. Shortly after, Ishida looked dumbfounded at the ice house Yuna had previously created but entered behind her, nonetheless causing him to be on guard due to hearing multiple voices from inside the house. Haha, sorry, Hinata, draw 4. Nope, I've another draw too. Too bad, Retsu. I'm afraid I have another one as well. Seems like the black cat continues to be the unlucky one. Shit, could you please stop with the black cat jokes? Ishida almost tripped when he felt the jolly atmosphere from inside the house. Weren't they here to free Rukia? Why was everyone so laid back? Besides that, there were 3 voices he didn't recognize. Where did these 3 people come from? A moment later, Ishida entered the room where the voices were coming from behind Yuna and yet again almost tripped due to being greeted with the view of one person wearing a captain's badge and another wearing a lieutenant's badge. Why the hell is a captain here? Has Yuna teamed up with her? No, maybe she is one of Yoryuki's old acquaintances. Yes, that's possible. Oh well, for those that don't know him, this is Ishida. Ishida, these two are Lieutenant Matsumoto and Captain Retsu. Although Ishida was still a little dumbfounded due to two supposed enemies being here, he still greeted the duo politely before his gaze landed on the third unknown person. Why haven't you introduced this person as well, Yuna? Before Yuna could answer him, the person in question started speaking up. What? We haven't seen each other for a few hours, and you have already forgotten me? It's me, Yoryuki. Yoryuki? I only know one person called like that, and he is a cat. Yup, that's me. Ishida felt like he was hit by lightning when the realization hit that that unusual black cat that he had to spend some time with was actually a beautiful woman. Initially, he was sure that Yuna was pranking him, but after remembering the conversation this little group had before he entered the room, he realized that Yoryuki's words might actually be true. I see. Might I also ask why two people from Siraitai are here? Are they Yoryuki's acquaintances? Retsu and Rangiku? No, they aren't Yoryuki's acquaintances. I just met these two around a week ago, and since then, they have joined my harem. Ishida took a while to digest Yuna's words, and a few seconds later, he nodded in understanding. Sorry, not sure what's going on, but something about my hearing was weird for a second. Could you repeat what you just said? They joined my harem. Yet again, Ishida took a long time to digest Yuna's words, but after finding no other reasonable meaning, he sent a pleading gaze towards Rangiku, who only nodded her head, causing him to feel a bit of despair. The F***ck? So Yuna just busted in here, pranked everyone that could be pranked, and while doing so, she even seduced not one but two high-ranking people from the enemy's forces. Again, what the F***ck? Did other people even need to come here to save Rukia? Wait a moment, she still remembers that we are here to save Rukia, right? Right. He felt like he would be really stupid even asking that kind of question, but considering the cozy atmosphere in the room, he just had to ask. Yuna, you still remember why we are here in Siraitai, right? Hearing Ishida's question, Yuna looked at him like an idiot before scoffing in disdain. Obviously, I know that. It's to have Rukia. Cough, it's obviously to save Rukia. Nice assist. Shouldn't you remember her? Isn't she female? I can't help it. Messing with these people here is simply too much fun. Obviously, Ishida noticed that Yuna had a slip of the tongue just now, but after taking his sanity into account, he decided to just pretend that Yuna was messing with him by pretending that she had momentarily forgotten their goal. Before he could comment any further, Yuna's gaze landed on Retsu as she started speaking. Retsu, could you take a look at Ishida, please? Not exactly sure what is going on or if it can be stopped, but he is rapidly losing his spiritual power due to him using a sacrificial technique. Hearing Yuna's request, Retsu simply nodded her head in agreement before her gaze fixed itself on Ishida. From the way you dress, I assume you are a Quincy. I'll put this bluntly, I took part in the Quincy massacre all those years ago. I don't mind trying to help you, but I think you should know about that before I do anything else. Although Ishida was briefly stunned due to Retsu's words, in the end, he simply shrugged his shoulders. Frankly, he didn't believe that anyone could improve his condition anyway, but since someone wanted to try, he might as well allow them to. As for the Quincy massacre, he couldn't care less. That was hundreds of years ago and had nothing to do with him. I don't care about that. That event happened a long time ago and has nothing to do with me. As soon as Ishida finished speaking, Retsu nodded in approval and got up from her seat. Very well, please follow me. Although we don't have a real treatment room, I'll make it work somehow. Meanwhile, a little later, not too far away from the hidden underground cave, Shunsui Kirako was yet again relaxing with a nice drink while snow was gently falling from the sky. However, the quiet atmosphere was quickly dispersed when Nanao Ise, Shunsui's lieutenant, entered the courtyard. Captain, I have a new report. Oh no Chan, come sit down and have a drink. The number of cake incidents inside Siraitai was halved today. Shatter. The moment Shunsui heard Nanao's report, the cup he was holding fell to the ground while he stared at Nanao in utter confusion. Seriously? Will we finally be freed from this curse? However, as if she wanted to crush the little hope that just sparked within Shunsui, Nanao continued her report. Unfortunately, the incidents of people getting pranked stayed more or less the same, but this time, half of the victims were hit by pie instead of cake. New N0vel chapters are published on N0v/e/lbin/co/m. Pie? Where does that come from? We are not sure, but we can only assume that the new wave of invaders is responsible for this. Do they have specific territories? Yes, that seemed to be the case. Are they fighting over territories? Hearing Shunsui's question, Nanao paused for a moment to gather her thoughts. Frankly, she wasn't entirely certain about that either. We are not sure. We don't know whether the territories were conceded voluntarily or if some kind of fight took place. All I can say is that the west of Siraitai seemed to be covered by the cake faction, while the east was covered by the pie faction. Shunsui digested Nanao's words for a short moment before a serious expression appeared on his face. Nanao, is it just me, or has the r18 kind of taken the back seats in regards to managing Siraitai? Are we still in control of Siraitai? Hearing her captain's question, Nanao opened her mouth to answer, but no sounds came out. Frankly, she had no idea how she was supposed to answer that question. Obviously, the Godi 13 still reigned over Siritai, but as more and more days pass, that feeling gets weaker and weaker, bothering her greatly. I don't know. After hearing Naneo's answer, Shunsui sighed deeply while picking up the cup he had previously dropped and refilling it with alcohol. Oh well, let's solve this the way I have been solving problems for the last week, getting too drunk to care about them. Seeing her captain drinking a huge gulp of alcohol, Naneo could only shake her head while considering doing the same. It seemed like things were only getting more hectic rather than calming down. So I guess I'll get myself a drink as well. Chapter 39, vs 9th Division. Renji was currently lying on the ground wearing blood-covered clothes, and he simply couldn't believe what had just happened. Somehow, he had lost to Ichigo again, but this time, his strength wasn't restricted. Somehow, a 17-year-old young man who had just gained his Shinigami powers had defeated him, a lieutenant of the Godi 13. Worst of all, he initially was easily overpowering Ichigo, especially after he released his Shikai, but after receiving a possibly fatal wound, something suddenly changed within Ichigo. His sword, which was initially filled with doubt and insecurities, suddenly oozed confidence and determination, and somehow, that change was enough to suddenly overpower Renji, utterly dumbfounding him. Shit. That was really all he could say as he felt his consciousness slowly drift away. Frankly, he wasn't as sad about losing against Ichigo as he had expected. After all, after seeing Ichigo's massive potential, a flame of hope was rekindled within Renji, the hope that Rukia's life could be saved. Although he knew that the punishment for Rukia's crimes would be the death penalty when he captured her, he never expected it to actually happen. After all, wasn't Rukia from a noble clan? Since when did noble clans follow the rules? And not only was she from a noble clan, she actually was the clan head's little sister and a lieutenant of the Godi 13 on top of that. At worst, Renji expected her to be imprisoned for a few years before returning to her duties. Should I try saving her as well? As these thoughts passed through his mind, he closed his eyes and finally let go of his consciousness, resulting in him fainting. Meanwhile, in another part of Siritai, Shohei Hisagi was in a somewhat similar position to Renji, but instead of being covered in blood, he was covered in bruises and burn marks. Seriously, I don't like people holding back on me. Hearing the complaints of the woman who had just defeated him, Shohei chuckled in amusement. Well, if it helps you, I don't think I could defeat you with my Shikai either. Hearing that, Tatsuki nodded in satisfaction and continued talking. Well, I would have preferred you simply giving it your all, but those words are better than nothing. This time, it was Shohei's turn to nod his head, but before he could say anything else, a third person appeared behind Tatsuki, their sword already slashing downward, causing Shohei's eyes to widen in surprise. Tatsuki noticed the arrival of the new person as well and immediately turned around and raised her hands to block the blow. However, she immediately realized that the blow was coming too fast and that she would at least receive a minor wound, causing her to growl. Fortunately, just as the tip of the blade was about to touch her skin, a glove-covered hand intercepted it, resulting in it stopping not even a centimeter away from Tatsuki's face. Captain Tuan. The man who had just appeared had dark skin, dreadlocks, and wore big glasses, hiding his eyes. Additionally, from the info Naruto had gotten from Kisuk, he knew that the person in front of him was actually blind. Now, please refrain from damaging my girlfriend's face. Don't you know how important a woman's appearance is to them? Besides, since when do dignified captains sneak attacks? Hearing Naruto's question, Tuan scoffed while taking some distance from Naruto while pointing his blade at him. Aren't you just intruders? For the sake of justice, everything is permissible. Naruto couldn't help but scrunch up his face the moment Tuan used a phrase like for the sake of justice. Ugh, so you are one of those types? You do whatever you want and then slap the term justice on it, removing the necessity to take responsibility or feel guilty for whatever you have done. Don't insult Captain Tuan like that. He is a great man. He's someone who always strives for justice. Naruto scoffed in disdain as his gaze never left Tuan. Since he had tried a sneak attack once, Naruto had little doubt he would do so again. Strives for justice, huh? In that case, what is justice? Is killing Hollows justice? Maybe from the perspective of a Shinigami's point of view, but what about the Hollow side? Pretty sure they don't think them getting killed is justice. No, there is no universal justice. It lies in the eye of the beholder, meaning it's the same as saying you do something because you thought it was the best thing to do, which is nothing bad, but don't try to hover over others by using grand terms like justice. Take that word, write it on a piece of paper, and shove it up your ass. Clang. Metal clashed as Tuan appeared in front of Naruto and swung his blade down, resulting in Naruto blocking it with his gloves yet again. What does a mere intruder know about justice? You illegally entered Siritai to free a criminal. How could you possibly claim yourself to be just? Ha, I am? As I said, it lies in the eyes of the beholder. It's my own personal justice. I want to save Rukia, and I think the best way to do it is by forcefully breaking into the city and rescuing her. So, I'll just do that. While these two were arguing, Tatsuki couldn't help but look at Naruto in bewilderment. As far as she remembered, she had never seen Naruto argue his point like this. That idiot is actually quite smart, huh? Wait a moment, isn't he at the top of the class every year? Right, he is. He is always acting like an idiot goofball around me, so I completely forgot about that. Shohei, on the other hand, wore a thoughtful expression as he pondered Naruto's words. Justice lies in the eye of the beholder. I have never seen it like that, but I can see the point he wants to make. I need to think some more about his words. Cry Suzumashi. As these words left Tuan's mouth, a loud, high-pitched ringing echoed over the battlefield, attempting to knock Naruto out, but before that could happen, Naruto raised his right hand and slapped it down, resulting in a powerful gust of wind, which disturbed Tuan's sound wave. You didn't think something so basic would work, did you? Tuan shook his head with a sad expression as he readied himself for the next move. You should have allowed yourself to get knocked out. Like that, I could have captured you painlessly, but since you insist on resisting, you'll have to feel some pain. Suzumashi Nishiki, Benihikau. Tuan swung his sword in an arc, resulting in hundreds of copies of his sword appearing in its path, and moments later, all the words honed in on Naruto's position, crashing into it, resulting in a smoke explosion. Naruto. Seeing such a devastating attack landing on Naruto, Tatsuki immediately yelled Naruto's name with fear in her voice. However, before Tatsuki could do anything else, a relaxed, slightly apologetic voice came out of the smoke. Oops, sorry I worried you, Tatsuki. I forgot that you aren't really used to stuff like that. Moments later, the dust settled, revealing an unhurt Naruto, casually standing surrounded a pile of swords. It looked like, despite being the focus of the attack, not a single sword had actually hit Naruto. Obviously, that wasn't because Tuan's aim was shit, but because Naruto gently guided the sword away from his position using his wind. And Naruto? Why you refine? Don't scare me like that. Haha, sorry. While Tatsuki was glaring at him, Naruto awkwardly scratched his head while his gaze returned to Tuan, who was now frowning deeply. Well, any more party tricks you want to show off? You should have a bankai, right? Show me what you can do. Naturally, Tuan wasn't happy that his technique was dismissed as a party trick, but he controlled his anger as he raised his blade. Very well, since this is what you want, I'll give it to you. Frankly, a mere intruder isn't worthy of me using my bankai, and I'm not even sure why you know of it in the first place, but I have no time to dawdle around here any longer. Bankai, Suzumashi Suishiki, in Makoragi. As soon as Tuan finished speaking, a black dome grew out of the ground that swiftly covered Naruto and Tuan, and as soon as it was fully closed, Naruto immediately realized what was going on. I can't see anything, nor can I hear anything. MHH sense of smell is gone as well. Well, at least I still have my sense of touch, otherwise, things would get really nasty. As those thoughts were passing through Naruto's head, he felt something touch his clothes, and he immediately realized that it was a blade, allowing him to twist his body out of the way, resulting in him only getting a small gash. Good thing I usually follow my instincts during the battle, otherwise, that might have dealt some real damage. Even if you say that, isn't the situation pretty bad? Rather than bad, isn't it annoying? I want a fun fight and not this mess. While talking with Naruto, he yet again felt a sword touching him, resulting in another close call. Yep, definitely annoying. Meanwhile, Tuan was utterly bewildered by what was happening in front of him. He is dodging my attacks? How? He shouldn't be able to sense anything. Don't tell me, he dodges the moment he feels my blade touch him? What kind of monstrous reflexes does this guy have? While Tuan grew more and more flustered as he repeatedly tried to seriously wound Naruto, Naruto became more and more annoyed, and after around 3 minutes of this, Naruto became too annoyed to continue. Fine, this is getting annoying, so let me finish this. I wanted to keep it hidden for a while longer, but the only other choice I see is either attacking randomly or a sacrificial move, which would result in me getting scolded. Tuan, you better prepare yourself. Tuan frowned as soon as he heard Naruto's somewhat playful voice. He couldn't help but take some distance from Naruto, thinking he was planning to use some kind of secret technique. Moments later, powerful spiritual pressure started oozing out of Naruto, causing Tuan to widen his eyes in shock. No way, it's impossible for him to do that? How could an outsider possibly archive it? Even Kurosaki Ichigo, Aizen-sama's test subject, can't do it yet. Ignorant of Tuan's thoughts, a grin appeared on Naruto's face as his spiritual power became even stronger, and moments later, he smashed his gloved fists together, resulting in a shockwave of spiritual pressure. Bankai. The wind that initially stopped moving due to Tuan's bankai stirred, causing his eyes to widen as it revealed Naruto's current form. His whole body was covered by highly ornamented yellow armor that looked like it was crafted from the wind itself, while 10 yellow tails that seemed to be made out of concentrated spiritual power were waving behind his back. 10-tailed wind demon fox. This feels weird. It's somewhat similar to how we could interact in the shinobi world, but at the same time, completely different. Yeah, I get the same feeling. Guess we'll just have to get used to it. Meanwhile, Tuan couldn't believe what had just happened. An outsider actually used bankai. Average Shinigami could even have trouble reaching their shikai, but here was someone who previously had never stepped into Siritai, and yet he had reached bankai. Only a freak accident like Ichigo was supposed to reach such heights, but here it was. Another freak that somehow managed to do the impossible. I need to get rid of him. He's too much of a variable and might mess something up with Aizen-sama's plan. Unlike the other captain-level Shinigami, this one hasn't seen Aizen-sama's shikai, so he can't be controlled. Yes, he needs to die or, at the very least, lose his Shinigami powers. While Tuan had an inner monologue, Naruto clenched and unclenched his fists before nodding with satisfaction clearly visible on his face. Yeah, I can work with this. The tails are still a little hard to control, but I should manage somehow. Noticing Naruto seemingly not being used to his bankai yet, Tuan sighed in relief. This would make this whole mess a lot easier to manage. However, before he could utilize Naruto's unfamiliarity with his Bankai, Naruto smirked as his case moved toward Tuan's position. Get the L test VLS at .o/v/e/l/by.co. Hey, Tuan, can you feel the wind? At first, Tuan wasn't sure what Naruto was talking about, but moments later, he realized that the wind within his Bankai was no longer at a standstill. Don't tell me he did this? Can he locate me using the wind? He does still have his sense of touch, but does that really extend to the wind? That would be very bad as it pretty much is an almost perfect counter against my Bankai. Unfortunately for him, as soon as he finished thinking about what a huge advantage he would have if Naruto could locate him, Naruto bent his knees and shot toward his position, almost causing him to curse out loud. Damn, so he really can locate me? That is bad, very bad. Naruto reeled back his fist and punched forward, forcing Tuan to block the punch with his blade, and as soon as the fist impacted his sword, his eyes bulged due to sliding back multiple meters. What insane strength! I should focus on dodging rather than blocking. However, as these thoughts passed through his mind, Naruto had already appeared in front of him, forcing him to block yet another attack, causing him to groan as he slid backward. It's not just strength, but speed as well. This is bad, very bad. I need to kill him as soon as I can. Meanwhile, Naruto had slightly different thoughts as he was swinging his fists at Tuan. Good, I'm getting used to it. Seriously, locating someone only using wind is a pain in the ass, but this is pretty good training. I hope he can keep this up a while longer. If he heard your thoughts, he would probably start crying. In that case, he should man up. Just like that, the battle continued with Naruto chasing after Tuan using his wind while Tuan was frantically trying to attack Naruto, only resulting in his attack getting dodged or blocked. Damn, he could already dodge my attack while being unable to perceive my position. Now that he actually knows where I am, he can easily block all my attacks. This is bad. Very bad. The battle continued as Naruto decided to heat up things a little, this time using wind blads to chase Tuan around the black dome he himself had created. Frankly, this was a horrible matchup for him since Naruto's Bankai was focused on making him stronger, while Tuan focused on making the enemy weaker, which unfortunately didn't work this time. Well, at least not by much, as Naruto still wasn't that proficient in using wind to locate Tuan. A few more minutes passed, and Tuan was currently kneeling on the ground, panting heavily as blood dripped on the ground from the multiple gashes on his body he received due to not blocking wind blades in time, while Naruto was towering over him, his hand leisurely crossed in front of his chest. Well, guess that's that. Before Tuan could say anything, one of Naruto's tails moved and snaked around Tuan's neck and lifted him from the ground. Well, right about now would be a good chance to cancel your Bankai. Instead of doing what Naruto asked him to do, Tuan could help but get angry and slash his sword at him, leaving a small gash on Naruto's face, causing Naruto to shake his head with a wry smile on his face. You are quite stubborn, huh? While Naruto spoke, the wound Tuan left on his cheek knit itself together like it wasn't there in the first, utterly dumbfounding Tuan while causing Naruto to chuckle in amusement. Yup, pretty cheat-like, isn't it? Before Tuan could comment further, a fist smashed into the side of his head, robbing him of his consciousness and cancelling his Bankai. Meanwhile, outside of Tuan's Bankai, Tatsuki was looking at the black half-sphere in front of her with a bored expression on her face. Seriously, why do we have to meet the captain with the least flashy Bankai? Or rather, why do we have to meet the one whose battles can't be spectated? This is so boring. Hearing Tatsuki's complaints, Shohei couldn't help but chuckle in amusement. His whole body was still hurting due to Tatsuki beating him up, but personally, he held no grudge against her. Why hold a grudge after something that was more or less a sparring match? Well, it can't be helped. Besides, you don't seem to be worried in the slightest. His Bankai might not be flashy, but he is still a captain. Meh, considering how confident Naruto was, I'm sure he'll win. Moments later, as if he wanted to confirm Tatsuki's words, the black sphere in front of her popped, revealing Naruto holding an unconscious Tuan by the neck with one of his tails while his arms were leisurely crossed in front of his chest. No way, it looks like Captain Tuan didn't stand a chance at all. What kind of monster is he? Tatsuki, on the other hand, quickly walked toward Naruto with a happy expression on her face. Obviously, she was happy that her boyfriend had won the fight and even did so seemingly without a scratch on his body. Oh, well done, Naruto. Congratulations on your victory. Haha, thanks. Seeing Tatsuki in a good mood, Naruto naturally was happy as well, as he gave Tatsuki a huge smile, causing her to blush a little. Obviously, Naruto noticed her blushing, causing him to smirk. Hihi, how about a little kiss as a victory present? Tatsuki blushed even harder when she heard Naruto's teasing words, but despite her blushing, she leaned forward while puckering her lips, causing Naruto to smile. He quickly tossed aside Tuan, like a toy he did no longer like to play with while disabling his Bankai and lightly raising Tatsuki's chin with his hand before giving her a deep kiss. Seeing Naruto and Tatsuki kissing, Shohei's face deadpanned as a spark of anger shot through his eyes. Really? Really? First, the girlfriend beats me up, and then the boyfriend beats up my captain, and after everything is done, they even start making out in front of me. They really want to piss me off, don't they? Chapter 40, Ichigo vs Kenpeki. A few days later, the wounds Ichigo had received during his battle with Renji had healed, and he was currently haphazardly running through the streets with Ganju and a meek-looking Shinigami by his side. By now, he knew where Rukia was being held prisoner, and he was currently running toward that place. However, as he was running, he suddenly felt like someone had just pierced a sword through his neck, immediately making him stop with cold sweat flowing down his back, while his two companions simply fell on their knees due to the pressure. What is this sensation? Oh, you can endure my spiritual pressure without falling down? You might do for a decent warm-up after. Hearing someone speak, Ichigo looked at the source of the voice and saw a huge man with spiky hair and an eye patch leisurely standing not too far away from him. Ichigo started sweating even more when he realized who this huge man was. After all, Ikeko had specifically warned Ichigo about him, Zaraki Kenpeki, captain of the 11th Division. Seeing Ichigo's whole body shake in fear, Kenpeki couldn't help but frown deeply while shaking his head. Or maybe you won't. Oh well, I guess I'll capture you or whatever and get this over with. As soon as Kenpeki stopped speaking, Ichigo got some of his bearings back as he realized the situation he was in. No, I can't get captured. I still have to save Rukia. You two, get out of here. I'll deal with this guy. Ganju looked at Ichigo in disbelief, but after briefly glancing at the now fainted Shinigami they brought with them, he realized the situation. Shit, we would just get in the way? However, there is no way Ichigo could win against this monster either. Shit. After thinking the situation through, Ganju bit his lip before using all his willpower to somehow get up despite the pressure Kenpeki was oozing. Shit, fine, but don't you dare die on me, Ichigo. Look, ha ha ha, Ken-chan, that guy is drooling. Before anyone from Ichigo's group could react, a little girl appeared next to the downed Shinigami and started poking him with her finger. Ichigo's eyes widened in shock due to an unknown person suddenly appearing next to him and immediately swinging his sword at her. However, the little girl easily dodged the attack by vanishing from her position and reappearing on Kenpeke's shoulder. Ken-chan, he attacked me. Seeing the pout on Yachiro's face, Kenpeki could only shake his head. Isn't that your fault for startling him? Ken-chan? So mean. While Yachiro was pushing her hands against Kenpeke's head, causing him to tilt it to the side, Ganju decided to use the moment when Kenpeki was distracted by Yachiro to pick up the downed Shinigami and run away. Seeing that Kenpeki didn't make a move to chase after the fleeing two, Ichigo raised his blade and pointed it at Kenpeki. You are not going to chase after them. Meh, I don't care about weaklings. Besides that, you appear to be the leader of your little group, so there is no need to capture anyone else. That's too much of a hassle. Is that so? Then I at least don't have to worry about holding you here. That's right. The only thing you have to do is concentrate on this fight. It seems you have stopped shaking under my pressure. Good. Don't let go of that determination and come at me. Ichigo simply nodded his head as he lowered his upper body before shooting straight toward Kenpeki, confidence slowly filling his eyes. Just like that, Ichigo appeared in front of him and slashed down his sword, but to his surprise, Kenpeki didn't move at all. Why isn't he moving? Is it a trick? No, it doesn't matter. I'll cut him. As these thoughts passed through Ichigo's mind, his blade collided with Kenpeki's chest, causing blood to splatter. Unfortunately, the blood that splattered was Ichigo's and not Kenpeki's. There was not even a scratch on Kenpeki's chest while blood started dripping down Ichigo's damaged hands. I see, I guess you can't do it. How disappointing. What happened? What kind of trick is this? Trick. Hearing Ichigo calling what just happened a trick, Kenpeki couldn't help but scowl. He lazily pulled out his sword, and while doing so, he pushed his arm against the sharp end of Ichigo's Zanpakuto, easily pushing it away without leaving a scratch on his skin. There is no trick, it's just common knowledge. When two entities of spiritual power clash, it's only logical for the stronger one to win. In conclusion, the spiritual power I emit subconsciously is greater than the highly concentrated spiritual power of your Zanpakuto. Ichigo's face turned white in horror after Kenpeki finished his explanation, causing Kenpeki to yet again shake his head with a scowl on his face. How boring. I had high hopes for you since the first intruder I met could even hurt me with her bare hands. Kenpeki, admitting that he had already fought an intruder, immediately caught Ichigo's attention as he managed to stop his hands from shaking and ask a question. Why, you already fought one of us? Was it Yuna? That's right. It was her. Ichigo couldn't help but grit his teeth after Kenpeki admitted that he had met Yuna. Things were getting worse and worse, and he felt like everything was slowly slipping out of his hands. Did she die? That was Ichigo's greatest fear. If she was just captured, something could still be done, but if she actually died, everything was over. Huh? What kind of weird question is that? Aren't you misunderstanding something? I'm the one that almost died. Huh? She won. Instead of feeling dejected due to his loss against Yuna, a ferocious smile appeared on Kenpeki's face that felt eerily similar to something Yuna would occasionally show. Yes, I lost. That was the best battle I ever had in my life. Shit, they are both crazy. Naturally, that is the conclusion Ichigo reached after seeing Kenpeki's crazed expression that easily matched Yuna's. However, there were currently more important things than thinking about his crazed schoolmate. So, Ichigo turned around and determinedly started running as fast as his legs could carry him, leaving a bored-looking Kenpeki behind. He ran. Oh well, I'll guess I'll go back and train some more. Ken-chan, the old man will scold you. Hearing Yachiro's claim, Kenpei could only click his tongue as he started slowly walking after Ichigo. Fine, I'm going. Meanwhile, in another part of r18, Sato was currently in trouble. In front of him stood a middle-aged man with a flowery kimono and a still-sealed Zanpakuto. This man was Shunsui Kirako, captain of the 8th Division, and he was currently toying with Sato. Although Sato's attacks were very powerful, he was simply too slow to land a hit on Shunsui, and he was slowly but surely getting exhausted. So, Sato decided to put everything he had in a last blow, but unfortunately, Shunsui dodged that one just as easily while slashing his sword at Sato, resulting in a deep wound and robbing him of his consciousness. Seeing the downed invader, Shunsui couldn't help but be in a good mood. As far as he knew, this was the first invader who was caught, so he surely will be praised for this. Hehe, my reward will be the allowance to slack off even harder. Back to Ichigo, who was still running away, but suddenly stopped dead in his tracks. Sato got wounded? His spiritual power is almost gone. Shit, things are falling apart. Although he was somewhat relieved that Sato was still alive, considering how small his spiritual power currently was, he would be easily captured. It seems like they prioritize information gathering. That is good. Like that, no one has to die. While Ichigo was deep in thought, leisurely footsteps echoed through the alley he was in, and as soon as Ichigo looked at their source, he saw Kenpei walking towards him, clearly not as motivated as he initially was. Damn, what am I doing? I'm not here to run away, I'm here to fight. How am I supposed to save Rukia if all I do is run away? Ichigo's determination and will to win spiked as his eyes started lightly glowing blue. I can do this. He shot towards Kenpei far faster than before and yet again slashed down his sword. Obviously, Kenpei noticed that Ichigo was suddenly faster, which caught his curiosity. So, he decided to give Ichigo another chance and patiently waited for his attack. Unlike during their first clash, Ichigo's hands weren't wounded, while a minuscule gash appeared on Kenpei's chest. Yes, I can cut you. Instead of being surprised by Ichigo cutting him, a wide grin appeared on Kenpei's face. Not bad. I'll consider this as a nice warm-up before I continue my training. Hearing that Kenpei only considered him to be a warm-up, a scowl appeared on Ichigo's face as he readied himself to continue the fight, the small gash he left behind on Kenpei's chest boosting his confidence even further. Are you sure you want to take me lightly like this? Come, you should release your sword. Show me your Shikai. My Shikai. Kenpei could only shake his head when he heard Ichigo's words. Is he seriously getting arrogant because I allowed him to leave a scratch on my body? Oh well, at least he has confidence back, and his will is no longer faltering. I won't use my Shikai as that would make this fight too boring. I have no desire to kill you in a single hit. Ichigo nodded in understanding as his eyes gleamed with determination. The moment Kenpei claimed that he wouldn't use his Shikai, he had already cooked up a plan. He's underestimating me. Good, I can make use of that. While he is overconfident, I need to look for a chance to give him a serious wound. If I manage to do that, he will be heavily handicapped even if he activates his Shikai, which should allow me to win this. However, Kenpei didn't like the way Ichigo looked in the slightest. Being confident is fine, but Kenpei could feel some of the tension leaving Ichigo's body. What are you relaxing for, Ichigo? Now that you see a chance to win, you suddenly start relaxing? Are you looking down on me? Do you really think you have a chance to win against me while not giving it your 100%? As soon as Kenpei finished speaking, he appeared in front of Ichigo and stabbed his sword forward, forcing Ichigo to block the attack with the flat side of his blade. Do you want to know why I don't want to release my sword? Because there is no fun to be had if I just cut you down with a single swing. Do you believe I'm giving it my all here? Do you seriously think that that little fragment of strength I have shown you is all I have? Don't make me laugh. As soon as Kenpei stopped speaking, he increased the amount of spiritual power he put into his sword, resulting in it easily piercing through Ichigo's like it was made out of paper and consequently piercing into his chest. Obviously, Ichigo was utterly confused by what had just happened. 1 second, he believed that there was a chance to win, and in the next, he was stabbed, resulting in a possible deadly wound. What a boring ending to a potentially decent fight. Although Ichigo heard Kenpei's words, they barely registered in his mind. However, just as he was about to faint, time seemed to hold to a stop as his Zanpakuto spirit appeared in front of him. Following that, Ichigo had to fight what was unknown to him, his inner hollow, while holding an unsealed Zanpakuto in his inner world. So, after realizing that just knowing his Zanpakuto's name isn't enough to use it to its full potential, Ichigo passed the test while making it possible for him to properly fight side by side with his Zanpakuto. Meanwhile, Kenpei was just about to pick the downed Ichigo up when spiritual pressure suddenly erupted out of him, causing Kenpei's eyebrows to rise while taking some distance from Ichigo. Oh, what's this all about? How interesting. Moments later, Ichigo stood up while his Zanpakuto, which previously had a hole in it, was fixed, and the bloody hole he had in his chest stopped bleeding. Before Kenpei could understand what was going on, Ichigo vanished from his position and appeared in front of Kenpei, slashing his sword down. Although Kenpei was surprised by the sudden burst of speed, he managed to raise the blade in time and block the blow. However, despite blocking the blow, Ichigo was actually pushing him back, resulting in another gash appearing on his body. The duo clashed a few more times, and Kenpei couldn't help but be curious about what was going on. After all, he was initially just playing around with Ichigo, but now he was actually stronger than him. Well, stronger than the current him, as he still had 3 seals on his body while fighting with a sealed Zanpakuto. Seeing more and more wounds appear on Kenpaku's body, Ichigo's confidence grew, especially since he could now push back Kenpaku's blade despite the difference in body size. Sorry, I don't have time to waste, so I'll finish this in one blow. One blow? Ha ha ha, why would you do that? Isn't it just about to get fun? It's so fascinating. How did you do it? How did you suddenly get so strong? How did you revive yourself? Ha ha ha, don't tell me. I don't care. As long as I can enjoy this some more, I don't mind at all. Such a nice warm-up. Naturally, Ichigo couldn't help but reel back due to Kenpaku's madness-filled behavior. What the hell? You are crazy? How can you love fighting so much? Ha ha ha, you are the one that's crazy. How can you reach your level of strength and not love fighting? Enjoy it? Enjoy the carnage and the pain? They are the price you have to pay to enjoy true battle. Just like that, the duo continued clashing endlessly, and after another 5 minutes passed, the clashing of blades briefly stopped. While Ichigo was breathing heavily, Kenpaku still seemed to be in his top condition despite the multiple gashes covering his body. Oh well, it seems like this is about to be over soon, so how about we finish this with a bang, Ichigo? As he said those words, Kenpaku reached for one of the 2 armbands he was wearing and removed it. Suddenly, his spiritual power spiked while the spiritual pressure he was emitting increased significantly, causing Ichigo to frown. What kind of dirty trick did you use? Again, with that accusation. There are no tricks involved. That armband simply sealed my power, so I could enjoy fights against weaker opponents as well. I wonder, can you still keep up despite me removing it? Ichigo clicked his tongue in annoyance when he heard Kenpaku's words as he realized that Kenpaku had been holding back this whole time without even noticing that Kenpaku's sword was still in its sealed state. Very well, I won't fall behind. As these words left his mouth, he had a brief conversation with his Zanpakuto, Zanjutsu, affirming that he trusted his Zanpakuto, resulting in Ichigo's power rising in tandem with Kenpaku's. Ha ha ha, good. It seems like you can still keep up. Not bad at all. Kenpaku's smile widened as he prepared himself for the last clash. He could easily tell that Ichigo was on the verge of collapse, so he was looking forward to his last attack. Ichigo, unaware of Kenpaku's thoughts, shot forward while Kenpaku did the same. While Ichigo's face was filled with deep confidence, Kenpaku wore a crazed smile, and a moment later, their blades clashed, resulting in a huge explosion that obliterated the nearby building while rattling the windows of every building further away. Seeing those 2 clash, Yachiro, who was seated on a nearby building, smiled lightly while nodding her head in approval. Not bad. It was not the same as with Yuna, but Ken-chan definitely had some fun with this. Moments later, the dust settled, revealing Kenpaku's sword being pierced into Ichigo's stomach while Ichigo's cut into Kenpaku's shoulder. Seeing the outcome of the final clash, Ichigo growled in anger. Top VL updates on n/o/v/lb/in.com. Shit, I'm sorry, everyone, I lost. Hearing Ichigo's apology, Kenpaku shook his head while removing his blade from Ichigo's stomach. Yeah, but it was a pretty decent fight. Not bad. As soon as Kenpaku finished speaking, Ichigo fell to the ground while letting go of his Zanpakuto, which broke in half the moment it touched the ground. Simultaneously, a little girl appeared next to Kenpaku and started talking to him with sparkling eyes. How was it, Ken-chan? Did you like this fight? Yeah, it was not bad. As he said that, he removed the bracelet on his other hand, allowing more spiritual power to flood his body, resulting in the severity of his wounds reducing. He briefly wondered whether he should remove his eye patch as well but decided against it in the end. He had quite a bit of fun in this fight, even if he was heavily restricted through various means, but he still didn't want the marks of this fight to disappear too quickly. Oh well, guess I'll bring this guy to the 4th division for now. He doesn't look like he will make it much longer without any medical aid. Excuse me, but could you hand him over to me? Suddenly hearing a deep male voice speaking to them, Kenpaku and Yachiro turned to the source of the voice, and while Kenpaku only raised his eyebrow in curiosity, Yachiro had a somewhat different reaction. It's a kitty.